as he tried to get to that marker on the third down try. Let's see where they spot this, because the spot is going to be critical here, as he was up near the marker, and you're talking about Crest in their own territory with a fourth down coming, as it ended up shaking out when all is said and done, and it would appear that the Chargers are going to kick this away. So a quick first possession for Crest, it would appear, as the kicking unit is on.
That's exactly why Gaffney, they deferred. They felt like they could stop them and make them have to punt and get good field position. Because watching the pre-games, it looked like Gaffney's kicking game is way better than Crest,
and if
as you can see right there.
End over end kick near midfield. That's going to take an Indian bounce at about the 47-yard line. Gaffney will take it there, as the Gaffney Indians will take over there at the 47-yard line. Kenny, you mentioned it. Gaffney winning the toss but deferring, so it is just now that we see for the first time this season Riley Staten lead the Indians out. Staten, who came over from Gray Collegiate, he's in his senior campaign, 6'3", 198. Staten, who saw time at that highly regarded in all athletics at this point, the difference they're making in the Columbia area at Gray Collegiate. Under his belt and in his background, but elevated to the 5A ranks. Now, with the hopes of the Gaffney Indians resting on his shoulders, he's going to turn handoff to one of their two tremendous backs down to the 45-yard line on this first carry for the Indians, Quay Tate. Quay Tate is the senior back that is back. He is the Gaffney Indian providing the burst to speed. You see he's also joined by Jaden McDowell among the starters for Gaffney offensively now on your screen.
But you look up front, look how much bigger they are than Crest. And when I always like seeing a tight end get up there, it's because they've got to honor that tight end and you can tell where they're lined up a lot better and get to the blocks when you put that tight end there.
Sizable offensive line for Gaffney. The question is, as the experience rolls along, how effective will that line be? So much of the Gaffney fortune is going to rest on their growth across the course of the season. You have three returners on that offensive line, so there's also a great deal of familiarity with one another that's going to be given, speaking of the couple of backs Gaffney has in the stable, to McDowell. McDowell is the sophomore, a little bigger. He's a guy they'll talk about, has the patience to find the hole, maybe run over you a little bit more than the speedster Quay Tate. But Quay Tate and Jaden McDowell, the 1-2 punch for Riley Staten and Gaffney. Here's the Crest defense looking to bring it to a halt. To the captain, Jamison, among those who will fill up the stat sheet defensively for the Chargers. Third down for Gaffney, their first of the day. And Staten has this broken up. Timely arrival for McCray, and it's McCray there.
That was a great play by McCray. He read that well, and they needed that because I know Gaffney felt like they could have probably done this with that great field position, and they should have probably been able to get that first down within 4 plays. But those first 2 plays didn't go for hardly any gain at all.
What a play by McCray and the intended connection with Smith. So both offenses out of the field. Those first game jitters, those early season nerves, well, now in many ways we'll see if it's behind them on this change of possession as the Indians kick this, and that's going to be inside the Crest 20, and it's going to be blown dead at the 15-yard line. That is where the Chargers will take over when you return to Cleveland County. Underway between Gaffney and Crest with nothing on the board after one touch for both squads.
And go.
Don't let game night dinner get you stressed. Stop by Ingles for great choices from the Ingles Deli. Rotisserie chicken, fresh made salads, a delicious hot bar, and sub bar. It's dinner and a snap, then off to the game. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
All right, the next one's going to be Ingles field goal. Ingles field goal.
Third all-time meeting between Crest and Gaffney. They met in 97, a game that was played here at Crest. They met 1 year later in 1998 in Gaffney. This is just the third time, but reaching out to one another because both, Kenny, have incredibly high expectations coming into 2023.
Well, when you got tradition, that's year in, year out for these two programs. And you look at what Gaffney has done, how many state championships they got, and then you look at the scoreboard right here, and I'm reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Gaffney chasing number 19 this year.
Oh,
so as we said,
shoot.
well over 20 between these two programs. And you look at how good they've been in the last decade and a half or so. These have been two of the programs you talk about year in and year out. Yes, historically, but they've been just as good of late as they've been in the annals of football history, both places.
And their head coach, like you said, he's been on staff there, 32 years?
Well, you got
and
a
he
guy
just moved
who's
him up.
well-traveled on one sideline in his second year here at Crest, getting the foundation laid after putting together a storied career, and on the other, you said it, 3+ decades on the same sideline, either as a coordinator or a head coach. Rolling out and finding a man wide open in the flat is Husky. And sitting down, just a matter of could he wait till it arrived for Malachi Addison, the senior, reels it in, an all-conference receiver, and he secures a First Franklin Financial first down for Crest.
They got to keep that quarterback contained. If he's able to get outside, they got too many people that's running and then break off their routes and come back to the quarterback. It's going to be a long night. But one of the keys, like we said, Crest really wanted to get off to a good start in the first quarter. They thought that was very important for them.
Octavius Husky, 3A preseason player of the year. Coming into this one, easy to see why as he zips that first one. Here is Vari Green. Green makes a man miss, and he's into Gaffney territory at around the 43-yard line. Javari Green headed to North Carolina, as you found out a little bit earlier today. It narrowed it down to just a handful of schools after his services, and you can see why, Kenny.
Yeah, that's why. There's a couple of jock straps laying on that field right down there right now. He faked them right out of it.
All-conference performer in his own right. He had narrowed it down before today. They're going to say he stepped out, bring this back to the 45-yard line, but you saw his explosiveness, and it was still enough for a First Franklin Financial first down, even if it remains on the Crest side of the field. Saw how explosive he can be. Again, he had narrowed it down. Alabama was late in the mix. It was between North Carolina, Michigan State, Alabama. Maryland at one point had been in the mix. And held a gathering at the gym today to say, I'm going to be a Tar Heel. And you know, Mac Brown's very pleased with that news.
Yes,
coming out of Shelby, North Carolina
else did he
today.
say? Michigan State?
Yep.
Also? I'm glad he stayed home.
Had 20 Division I offers, 20 legitimate Division I offers.
I could see why.
That
right
he was
there.
choosing from between Mr. Green. Come this correction, and in front of the sideline, trying to make the connection with Malachi Addison once again, but it was not to be. And it is incomplete. Second down and 10 coming. You know, we were talking Husky a moment ago, 3,200 yards as a passer last season. He rushed for 1,000 as well, Kenny. Truly dual threat with 50 total touchdowns to his credit for the 3A preseason player of the year. And he comes in as one of the captains on this team as he rolls out to his left this time. Turns back, has Addison. He's to the Gaffney 45 and will be taken down at the 42-yard line. Second key connection with Addison. Second time the chains have been moved on this drive. That's another First Franklin Financial first down.
Well, they did a good job containing that time, and a good double team ball with the back and the tackle on the defensive end, and they had him pull up there. It's second read, but once he gets out of containment and comes back, there's these receivers know how to come back for the football.
Settling in now at around the 7:22 mark in the opening period of the new high school football season. Both teams having touched the ball once and kicked it away to their opponent. Crest driving now, and he will swing a pass out. Who else? But Adams, he splits the defenders, is inside the 10, and A.J. Adams will not be brought down until he sets up a first and goal for the Chargers.
This is exactly what Crest wanted to do. As we said at the start of the game. And as one of the RPO, he had an option to run the ball right there or hand it off, and then that was probably his third option.
All-conference wide receiver, and yes, you hear us say it regularly, they're loaded with him. He had 150 yards on 11 receptions in the scrimmage against South Point, so he's off to a fast start. Preseason and now regular season here in 2023. Husky proving elusive. Still with plenty of time to make a decision. Look for the back of the end zone, but it is incomplete as he attempted to make the connection at the very length of the field under the goalpost.
This is fun.
But take a look at how much time he's provided to throw the football. Part of it is offensive line, part of it is own legs, Kenny.
He is doing it. And, once the spread team gets down inside the 10 like this, or even 20, their offense is cut down because the threat of the deep ball is gone right then. And so if they can keep him contained, they'll seem like they run the ball real well, but what they can do is scramble around and find somebody that's open.
Tried to find Vari Green that time, but couldn't make the connection, and now everything comes to a halt with 6:34 to play on the game clock. Gaffney having to make a substitution, looked like an equipment issue. And now the play clock resets. Second down, I should say, and goal, first scoring opportunity for Crest. That's caught, a little bit of room to the outside, stretching toward the pylon, and crossing the plane is Green. First touchdown to Vari Green, and he will put the homestanding Crest Chargers on top.
Another, you can see right there, we'll be watching him on Saturdays.
Vari Green, he's so quick. The 40 time, 4.39. The GPA, also 4.3 something.
Wow.
How about that combination? You take his experience, his understanding, his knowledge of the game of football, you put those athletic skills with it. Easy to see why he will, as Kenny told you, be playing on Saturdays in the future. Making his mark on Friday nights here, he gives the Chargers of Crest a 6-0 advantage with 6:26 to go in the opening period of action.
And warm-up said their kicking game did not look well at all.
And before Carson Greer can put a foot into it, a flag is down on a miscue special teams-wise. I'm wondering about the numbers a year ago for Green. 1,267 yards. He was closing in on 2,000 for his career. Ended up with just a campaign that sets the stage for what they believe is going to be a breakout season. And this is certainly the scripted start to it with his touchdown a moment ago.
Everything Crest wanted has happened. That's we said at the start. But he wanted to have a good first quarter. Talking to one of the coaches, he thought that was a big key for him, and they was afraid they're going to be punched in the mouth by this bigger line up front. And so far, Crest has answered the bell.
This extra point going to be a little more challenging now. It's like a 25-yard field goal, but it is going to be just wide to the far side. The extra point no good after the miscue, but the touchdown run is. And the initial impact of the high school football season in this border battle puts Crest on top 6-0. Fari Green able to use his athletic ability to put Crest out top. Touchdown run gets things started here. That's part of what you'll see at halftime as part of the Asheville Chevy Show coming up at the half. The first highlight, I'm sure there will be a whole lot more. Green, boy, Kenny, who can forget what he did? Kind of had his coming out party against their rival Shelby in that September contest last year, which he had the 5 touchdowns, the 300-plus yards on 10 receptions, and he's starting out right where he left off in that key game in this key border battle. And again, that's some of what you will no doubt see at the Asheville Chevy Show, which will be coming up for you at the half. And Green has been as advertised as this Crest offense is thus far.
Every bit of it. Now, I thought, well, that's usually it'd take 4 quarters to see 2 or 3 highlights like that. And we've already seen 3 in the first quarter. All right, this is where they're a little bit weak. Like I said, their kicking game is they don't need their deep people that deep. It's not going to go that far. And he may prove me wrong.
So a 6-yard touchdown run that capped a 7-play, 85-yard drive to put Crest out front by a count of 6-0, and we'll see what kind of response the Gaffney Indians have here. Running into one another, and that's a live football. Gaffney will have it in the end, but it'll be blown dead after it's eventually picked up. Could have been disastrous, but it will be Gaffney football, though not the field position the visitors were hoping for. As they'll start inside their 20. Here's another look at it.
That is first game type of stuff, and that is the exact kind of stuff you worry about as a coach early in the season, because that kind you don't get a chance to work on that, and that's some of the last stuff you put in. And that's a coach's nightmare over there.
Speaking of coaches, there's Gaffney's led him to the state championship. His second, he's been a part of 7. His second as the head man a couple of years ago when they won that 21 title over Dutch Fork. But this first pass on the drive, incomplete, far side. We told you about Dan Jones. He's starting his 14th year at the helm of this program. It evens him with Bob Prevette, who the field is named after there in Gaffney, the legendary head coach Bob Prevette, and he's 32 years in on that sideline in one way or another, either as a coordinator or a head coach. He's seen a lot of quarterbacks come and go. He was certainly glad to see this one come because Riley Staten's arrival in May allowed them to really plug and play at the quarterback position. They didn't have to reinvent the wheel after the departure of the very talented quarterback Grayson Loftus, who is now at Duke. But he is finding it difficult to solve this defensive front for Crest right now. The first 2 plays on this drive going the opposite direction, and it's going to be 3rd and long.
Yeah, we kept talking about Crest offense. I'm impressed with what they've done defensively tonight. I thought that Gaffney would be running it, picking up 4, 5, 6 yards a clip with what men they have up front.
Nothing there for Jaden McDowell that time. Gaffney backed up for a 3rd and about 15. They'll need the 27-yard line for the first. Plenty of time in the pocket this go-round for Staten, and he loads up and shows his arm off. Connects with Drew Medley all the way down to the other 25-yard line. Gaffney will have it deep in Crest territory. Drew Medley in his senior campaign was the leading wide receiver for Gaffney a year ago. Maybe doesn't get all the headlines of so many of the other playmakers, but you're likely to see a lot of this in South Carolina this year. Staten to Medley, and it changes the fortunes of this Gaffney drive.
Boy, that was a heck of a throw, and just over. He had 2 people draped on him, and more as impressive as that was the offensive line.
They get to the line quickly. Amazing Littlejohn, as they call him, able to secure the catch. He brings up a 2nd down and short after Amazing Littlejohn, who, again, a big pass threat a season ago, back as a big pass threat again. The one thing you're going to find out about these 2 teams tonight, both of them have incredible stables of wide receivers.
Yeah, they proved that. And both quarterbacks are amazing. Now, he's not as fleet-footed as Crest quarterback, but you can tell right now he's the type of kid he's going to manage. He's going to manage that offense and not make any mistakes.
Riley Staten, we said it, big shoes to fill. Grayson Loftus, now a quarterback on campus at Duke after leading them to that title a couple of years ago and putting together 40-plus win tenure there at Gaffney, which that undefeated season was a part of it. Staten coming in, he's familiar to the community. He's had family in Cherokee County, so not a stranger known by many, a family respected by all, and so it was a unique fit. Gaffney hoping it's going to pay dividends over the long haul in 2023. He and his crew facing a second down here. Trying to get to the corner, but unable to do so, as he is tripped up by Brooks, who makes a nice tackle with McDowell trying to find some room, and here comes a third down.
This is big right here. And one thing that's going to help them is their kicking game. You know, they're going to have a decision to make. But with their big guys up front, they should be able to take 2 plays and get a first down.
Third down here. Gaffney needing 4. Tried the post right at the front of the end zone, looking to connect with Medley, who on the third down and long on the other end of the field made the catch that marked the drive, but this is defended beautifully and knocked away, and that was Devarius Surratt who made the stop there. He's just a sophomore, Kenny, but he was in the right spot for Crest here.
Yeah, that's 2 good plays by those DBs breaking on the ball and stopping Gaffney.
So for the Indians, an attempted 26-yarder that is punched right up and through. Spadavecchia putting a foot into it and putting Gaffney on the board as a result of it. A touchdown without the extra point for Crest. The Indians settle for a field goal, and it's a 3-point game first quarter at Crest.
And go.
Don't let game night dinner get you stressed. Stop by Ingles for great choices from the Ingles Deli. Rotisserie chicken, fresh made salads, a delicious hot bar, and sub bar. It's dinner and a snap, then off to the game. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
The next one's going to be Ingles field goal.
High-powered offenses held to just the single touchdown on the Crest side of things, and the field goals. The defense tightened up when it mattered most on that last Gaffney drive. The Indians settling for 3. And Kenny, you said before the game started, the defenses were going to be critical here because you know you've got playmakers on both sides. You know at some point both of these teams offensively are going to be effective. You're not going to hold them back all night, but stops like the one we just saw, critical along the way this evening.
It is, and I really feel like Gaffney should be controlling the ball a little bit more and staying away from these big plays that Crest can do. They've already seen that that Green can make things happen and make it tough on Gaffney's defense, no matter what they do.
Well, that's a Crest team, 440-plus yards per game a season ago. They scored 40 points. 8 out of 12 times they took the field. So it's explosive. And in the kicking game, that as well. What about this return from Malachi Addison? Addison gives the Chargers outstanding field position with his return of the ensuing kickoff.
That's why I never would face a team that's got athletes like Crest. I never would kick that thing deep to them, give them a chance to get a running start, which is what he had.
Addison puts Husky and company in business up at the 41-yard line. Octavius Husky already engineering that one drive that resulted in a TD, and Malachi Addison has been a part of it throughout. Going to swing this out. Addison again makes a man miss. He's into Gaffney territory at the 47-yard line. Malachi Addison putting on a show all of a sudden.
Everyone that he's thrown to, once they touch the ball, has made something happen. It's just not just catch the ball and go down. they're looking to score. They're turning that thing upfield.
The quick cut and reaction here.
Putting that hand on that ground.
Skills on display for Addison. At the 47.
Another good read.
And keeping it himself is Husky. But unfold is Jariel Jeffries, one of the seniors on that Gaffney defensive line. Three-man front for Gaffney, Kenny, that you can see there as they call it a 3-4 offense. They will take that other outside linebacker from time to time, give them a look like a 4 and a bit of a hybrid role, and paid off here as Jariel Jeffries gets in there.
That's one reason the quarterback's been getting outside because you really have no true defensive end to contain him. They can go. They got 5 right up front that can block 3 if they don't blitz anybody.
It's Foster Boyd who tries to fill that role right now, and there are enough white jerseys around the ball carrier this time to keep him shy of the 50. And here comes 3rd and long after a promising beginning to this latest Crest drive. We are closing in on 2 minutes remaining in the opening period. And it is Crest leading Gaffney 6-3 and looking for more. Look over on that Gaffney sideline.
You're going to find in that 3-man front that Gaffney's going to be bringing somebody from somewhere. But I think that as it keeps going, they're going to keep 2 people over on number 6, Mr. Green. They're not going to leave one man out there covering.
Looking 6's direction, but he's just a little bit gathered up before he can find the open field. And the long pass incomplete. It's going to be 4th down.
And one thing that they can do is what they did, that outside linebacker, we just call it hot. You go out there and jam him a little bit and then look inside and you can still play your flats, but you slow him down for the DB to have a better chance to cover.
Return man is going to be standing as the fans look on, and boy, is it a packed house on both sides here in Cleveland County tonight. This one has been circled for some time. There might have been some discussion about where it was going to be played, when it was going to be played. There was no discussion about whether both fan bases were going to turn out in full force to be here. They certainly have, and they've been entertained to the tune of a 3-point ball game as Gaffney will take over at its 16-yard line.
I wonder why that young'un hit a knee on that right there.
Backing the Indians up yet again. You think about the possession they've had and where they've started, and that makes it a little tougher here.
I thought it was a good bounce that he could have made some things happen. I know he's a good enough athlete to where he could have got out past the 20 at least, if not more. Because he got a great bounce to make some things happen. So looks like something he was coached to do, though.
So Riley, Staten, and Gaffney back out there again, listed 6'3", 198. Staten in his senior campaign, but his first with Gaffney. Tried to connect with Quayshawn Tate there, but Tate had fallen down as he worked his way through the line and throwing to a designed spot where there was nothing but open real estate. Makes it an incomplete pass.
Linebacker blitz from that side. If he could have gotten out there and completed that, he had some. Now when you say green grass, this is green grass. I took my shoes off as soon as I got here. I couldn't stand it.
Well, we had the hardest time getting you to put them back on to climb the steps.
They're off right now.
Let's see that. Rarely does it stay that way all night. Minute 28 remaining in the opening period. And Gaffney facing a 2nd down and 10 from the 16-yard line. What a start between these two border rivals. Timeout is going to be called for. And I believe Gaffney opted to take the timeout here as the teams are going to gather up and discuss this forthcoming 2nd down play. Well, Kenny, your impressions of what we've seen so far?
Well, Mr. Green, of course, has lived up to the billing. He's shown that, like I said, why he's going to be playing down Chapel Hill. If they've got –
And not alone in his playmaking ability either. Malachi Addison, we've seen A.J. Adams break loose in a key moment. I mean, there are multiple weapons for this Crest squad.
And they've got to keep – even though they got him contained, the quarterback is still making plays when they contain him coming back across the field. So if somebody misses that tackle, he's going to find something. Those receivers do a great job coming back. I would like to see if Gaffney try to take over the game and maybe run 3 plays, try to take those men up front and see what they can do off tackle a little bit.
Well, one thing you know, plenty to smile about on a night like this. The Smile Camp being brought to you by Degree Orthodontics, proud sponsors of tonight's Smile Cam. 128. And Staten going to slide down at the 19-yard line as third down is coming. And this Crest defense looking to get the football back, get off the field one more time toward the end of the first period that to this point the Chargers have owned to the tune of a 6-3 advantage.
There was 4 yards right there off tackle. You know, the 3 plays, something like that, misdirection, picking up a first down and keeping Crest offense off the field is what that would help do also.
Inside the final minute of the opening period. Again, it was a 3rd and long, which the Gaffney drive was extended on a connection with Drew Medley. I'll look back to Drew Medley one more time, but this is a little too tall. And 4th down is coming. So another nice stand for the Chargers of Crest.
He's getting, when he does throw and stand back there, he's getting time. They haven't really put a lot of pressure on him yet. That's just like that deep throw back down here.
Tried Medley on the sideline right at the first down marker, but too much air underneath it. And now the punt as a flag comes in. And this ends up in behind that Gaffney bench at right around midfield, but they'll have to sort out the penalty.
There's too many men on the field.
Looked like it.
This is the type of stuff that happens the first game. So far, that's the kicking game is coming, and that is what the greatest fear is coaches, because you just don't have as much time to work on the kicking game unless you take away from something else, trying to get ready for that first ball game.
Well, you said it. The exact type of thing you're accustomed to seeing as the season gets underway. It's going to be a substitution infraction when you start counting numbers.
I think that's just 5 yards, though.
And if it is, it will likely leave Gaffney just shy of where they need to be. Let's see, as they sort this out, where it puts the Indians. It will put them just shy, it looks like, of the first down marker. So 4th down remains, and with the game early and the visitors backed up inside their own 25-yard line, poised to kick it one more time.
Wow.
This kick in play, fair catch being called for by Green. Pops in and out of his hands, but he smothers it right in front of the sideline to maintain possession for Crest. We saw Gaffney on a kickoff return earlier have an oh my goodness moment. You just saw the first one for Crest there, but in both cases, the team wanting possession was able to secure it. Green does a nice job to jump back on the football.
I think football coaches, you go to sleep because you're wore out. But it's when you wake up about 4 in the morning, you don't go back to sleep. And this is the kind of stuff right there is the reason you can't sleep, but maybe about 4 hours each night.
A lot better when the football stays in your possession as it does here. And it will end up being a chance for Husky and his crew to go back at it. And right back at it they go. All kind of room down the near side for Aiden Carson, and he will not be caught. Aiden Carson, a touchdown run of nearly 70 yards. He goes 67 to extend the Crest lead. And for all the talk about the wide receivers, the senior back, Aiden Carson, said, wait a minute, remind them that we got some running backs in this stable as well. Watch the back break loose, and he would not be denied.
Every time Crest has gotten in an open field with the football, they've made Gaffney look like they're standing still.
Well, just when you thought there was no more time for scoring in the opening period, a 67-yard run from Aiden Carson. And Crest will carry a little larger lead into the second period. Second extra point goes awry, but a couple of touchdowns minus those kicks that follow, making it a 12-3 Chargers advantage with 17 ticks remaining on the first quarter game clock.
This is why you make sure you're good friends with the soccer coach.
That's one of the age-old strategies, is it not?
Tate McQueen and Owen would find me one. I wouldn't have one at the start of the season. Tate, calm down. I'll have you one for the first game. He always would.
You're talking about how
they
critical critical the kicking game can be in a contest like this as well. We'll
It's going
see
to come down to it.
how much of a factor that is. We've seen it certainly on the punts and on the kick returns, the field position, the way it's played for Gaffney so far, and now a couple of missed extra points that Crest is certainly hopeful will not come back to bite them at any point in this game. Only time will tell. One thing we know for sure, Crest getting started in front of the home faithful according to script. A couple of scores and a 12-3 lead despite those missed extra points. They'll kick it away to the Indians with seconds remaining in the opening quarter.
And I know he's been through the wars. He's been a coach for 32 years. There's no reason to panic right now. There's a lot of game left. Cheese and crackers. So just get back to your game plan and control the football and go down and score right now, and you're okay.
Gaffney return up to the 35, up to the 38, and still spinning forward across the 40 of the 43. So much better field position for the Indians here as they get set to take over. This wouldn't be the first time Jim Sosby spoiled an idea that Gaffney had. You go all the way back to his tenure in Greenville. He snapped the winning streak that extended across a couple of seasons for the Gaffney Indians, a team that was unbeaten the year before. 2007, he came away with a victory with his Greenville Red Raiders that snapped one of the longer streaks in South Carolina. So he would be trying once more to start this season off on the right foot for Crest, on the wrong foot for his rivals from across the border. Of course, he spent several years in Greenville with the Red Raiders. He spent several years at Hendersonville and is known to fans in the state of North Carolina from his time there in his second year at Crest. And it is so far so good in year 2, so far so good in quarter number 1. As it comes to a close here in Cleveland County, a 12-3 lead in effect. Your thoughts on this first quarter as we go to break?
Well, you see that play right there? Look how many yards they just line up and come right at him. I think somebody chewed out that offensive line a little bit, and they're going to do more of that.
Crest playmakers as advertised in the first quarter for a 12-3 lead after 1.
Bojangles is a proud sponsor of Friday Night Rivals. It's not just football season, it's tailgate season. Head to Bojangles and order your tailgate box today. And tailgate like a legend. It's Bo time.
They celebrated titles in 94, 96, 2003, 2004, 14, and 15. 8 conference titles. Talk about all the state championships from 2002 on, 4 of those 6. Great deal of tradition here in the land of the Crest Chargers, and they are off to a good start in 2023 as Crest leads it 12-3 as we begin the second period. It's Gaffney with the football just inside Crest territory. And the pass going to be caught. Makes a man miss down inside the 30, and still moving is Jamarcus Smith. In fact, he's going to move all the way to the end zone. Jamarcus Smith takes it in for Gaffney, and it's his work after the catch that makes the difference here.
And that running that ball for 10 yards on that last play of the first quarter, they scared Crest defense, and they were playing more for stopping the run on that first play.
Jamarcus Smith had a great preseason, had nearly 800 yards receiving last year in his sophomore campaign, and starts his junior season with the first Gaffney touchdown of the year. Guy that had Staten not arrived may have been one of those receiving a look at the quarterback position because of his athletic ability. Instead, he hangs tight in his role as wide receiver, and he turns out to be the one that makes the first difference from a scoring standpoint this season. There's the toss from Staten. It's finished on a great job from Jamarcus Smith. A little tighter in Cleveland County. Well, the Gaffney response to open the second period of action, highlighted by the reception from Jamarcus Smith, and he would have nothing but to take this on into the end zone, taking the score from 12-3. Now Gaffney matches his jersey number. It is a 12-10 contest thanks to his good work. And a reminder, Kenny, that we're going to have the benefit to be front and center watching outstanding playmakers on both sides all night long in this border battle.
Well, both sides, every kid that touches football, every receiver, they turn and get upfield. That's the drill work that you do, is teach receivers to do that. Turn outside and get up the field as quick as you can. And when every one of them are leaving people when they do.
A couple of teams coming off outstanding seasons. This is a Gaffney team that went 12-3, unbeaten in region a year ago. Lost in the upper state title game to a Dutch Fork team that rolled through the upstate playoffs, their allocation from the Columbia area, and won their latest title. For the 3A Big South Conference representatives, this Crest team about to get the ball back. They were 9-4, 5-2 in the league, and made a deep playoff run of their own before falling to South Point in the third round of the playoffs a season ago. Kenny, we talked about the expectations a little bit earlier tonight, but these two communities are not pleased if they're not playing for a state title. That's kind of become, to some degrees, a rite of passage. It certainly has become the lone goal when you start the year, that you're either playing in Raleigh or wherever the championship is held, Chapel Hill, or you're going to Columbia at whatever stadium they may be playing in this year, and you're playing for the title. That's what both these teams expect. You see the kick go out of bounds, it's going to be a little better field position for Crest. But this also a rare first game in which you get a chance as the second-ranked team in your state to go ahead and serve notice to everybody else that you plan on being there this year.
Yeah, and so far away the game's going, no matter how the turnout is, you're going to come away with this. If there's no matter what, these are two of the best football teams in the state, each state.
Thousands on hand to see it. This is caught sitting down right between the hashes is A.J. Adams. And speaking of impact after catch, he's down inside the 15-yard line. A.J. Adams. We'll see where they spot him out. But we talked about the 1-2 punch of the IQ, not only in the classroom, but on the football field, and the athletic ability that comes with it. Here's the scholar athlete showing out for Crest. A.J. Adams loose one more time.
And a lot of missed tackles tonight on both sides of the football. In that first game, you're going to see that also.
Going to spot him at the 18-yard line. Here comes Husky rolling this way with it. Tries to stop and find a window to throw it a little deeper. He's got a wide-open Green touchdown. It was only a question of whether Husky could put on the brakes and find enough space to get it in the general direction of Vari Green. He was wide open just shy of the goal line, and Crest has answered with another touchdown from Vari Green.
That's that RPO play where the quarterback has the option to hand off, keep it, or throw it out there. Then they covered all three well, and once he got bottled up, Green just turned it upfield.
Well, you saw Borders there. He thought he had some open real estate in front of him, was calling for the football. What he didn't know, behind him, Green, nobody in the zip code. Husky saw it. He did slam on the brakes, and he was able to use his athletic ability to work it over the Gaffney defense, going for 2 to try to make this a 20-10 contest. Crest looking for the goal line. Did Adams hang on to the ball? Let's see if he was able to get on top of it. He did. Gathered it back up, and A.J. Adams and company convert to run it to 20-10 Crest.
I thought they should be going for 2 all the time the way their kicking game is. They might as well if they can make some things happen.
Let's have a look at it. You see the cutback.
Defense. Oh, put it in there.
Reached out with that left arm, gathered it back up. A.J. Adams working hard for the Chargers of Crest in these moments. And what he was so impactful in making happen, he makes a little more impactful by getting the 2-point conversion gathered up for a 10-point advantage for the home crew. There's the touchdown to Green. And Adams' work followed. Well, Kenny Ford, a season's worth of big-time plays. We got a season's worth of playmakers. Why not? There's Green, second time he has found pay dirt tonight. And his crew wearing green out front by a count of 20-10 after A.J. Adams converted on the 2-point try. And you kind of looked at me and said, boy, this is going to be a high bar to set for the remainder of the season, what these two teams are putting together to entertain fans on this night. The sky just as beautiful as it fittingly oversees one of the great border battles on the schedule this year.
Boy, isn't that pretty? Yeah, we've seen enough. Sometimes we'd have to go do 2 or 3 ball games before we saw that many big plays. Just not every one of them. These playmakers made things happen. It wasn't that what the other team didn't do. It's what they did.
Well, guess what? 11 and a half minutes almost still remaining in the opening half of action. So get ready. A whole lot more where that came from. This kick is end over end, and fair catching that before it works its way out is Stone Fury. And it will be Gaffney's football at the 24-yard line. That's where the Indians will have it. It's just a matter of finding a spot wherever you can on a night like this to put your eyes on this highly anticipated contest.
They're thinking about maybe, I don't think it's quite 7. I know they're thinking about 6,000 people here, but there may be filing in on 6.5, 7.
Depends on how many sneak in here before
well,
all's
they said
over
they
with.
caught somebody out there selling counterfeit tickets out in the parking lot basically before they caught a hold of him.
I wonder how much interest there is in this contest between these two schools, both powers in their respective states, separated by about 16 miles. And here's the new quarterback this season, Riley Staten for Gaffney. Just enough time to get rid of that. May have rushed it a bit. It lands at the feet of his intended target, which was Chaz Smith. And it is incomplete.
That's the first time he hadn't had a chance to set his feet. The offensive line had done a good job keeping them off of him. And when he's able to set his feet, he's completed it.
Playbook terminology, right? When you're breaking a new quarterback in, trying to build some confidence early in the season with his new teammates, about as important as anything else right now for the Gaffney QB.
They're doing a good job up front. I'd still try to pick up like at the end of the first quarter, I believe. they ran it for 10 yards. The offensive line got together and just pushed them off the football.
Came from Gray Collegiate in the Columbia area, a team that has become a perennial power in all sports, a school that has done that in the state capital. And leading that team to the playoff run a season ago, not far removed from their own championship moments. Returning to family location of Cherokee County. He dumps this off underneath to Jaden McDowell, and McDowell strives toward the far sideline and is across the 30. That's going to make third a lot more manageable as it is forthcoming. It's another look at McDowell. McDowell, we said he's a sophomore. Talk about his patience or the bruising back with, yes, the speed and that ability, but much more that he can bring to the table among the 8 starters returning.
And Tank Ruff he was pretty rough on him there, throwing him lassoed.
He lived up to his name.
Yes, he did.
Staten sees Little John open. Little John makes a man miss. He's now inside Crest territory at the 33-yard line before he's brought down. There's amazing Little John again for the Indians.
Yeah, they all starting to get north and south quick. And then the quarterback had time to set his feet and find that receiver. These routes are deep routes, and it's taking a little time to run them. So he's been getting time to complete it.
Yeah, how much credit you have to give the offensive line
there.
To give him enough space and give him enough of a clock to be able to dump that off to Little John, who made so many big plays, the Gaffney fans will tell you, down the stretch a year ago. Tries one more time. Staten looking for some room inside the 25 to get near the marker. And a 23-yard line, the spot. Inside 10 minutes remaining, opening half, 10 points the separation. As Crest has scored 3 times, missed a couple of extra points, but converted on a 2-point try. Opposite a Gaffney team with a lone touchdown and a field goal to this juncture. And right up the middle, untouched, is Jaden McDowell. And a rushing touchdown for Gaffney to pull a little closer one more time. First rushing touchdown of the year for Jaden McDowell and for Gaffney.
Gaffney running some NASCAR there. They're getting back up on the line, back up on the ball real quick instead of calling a play and meandering around. So they had Crest on their heels and went 3 plays after that long pass. They got up to the line of scrimmage and ran it right at them.
This is kicked right up through. And the first of the extra points right up and through, as it is now going to go 20-17 now. As we find ourselves with 3 points, the separation one more time between these two as they continue to go back and forth.
It comes down to a field goal. You can see who's got the advantage right now. You can see how that ball just jumps off his foot. I think it's still going. They do a good job once they get up to the line of scrimmage. They're going to do that some more. So Crest needs to get up there and get ready.
That's how you get beat, but not being disciplined.
And the conversation inside that huddle, you're talking about all the technology and how much the game has changed. Real-time adjustments is something you've always talked about in football, but the resources you have with which to make them now, a whole new world.
That's a good camera shot right there. It was going. Yeah, and it is. I wouldn't have an idea how to do that as part of that. Yeah, that's how come they got me up being on the field all the time. I was out there trying to talk to my players and trying to see what the heck was going on. But that just, there was a time that was illegal and schools got called at halftime doing something like that, looking at the film at halftime. And it was, you just wasn't allowed to do that. And now you've got it on the field.
Arms race on resources.
Yeah.
In order to be in a position to make those key adjustments, as we said, in real time.
I'd had to take the TV out of my living room and put it down there, that on. I know we couldn't have got one.
76 yards later. This Gaffney squad in the end zone one more time, all capped on the run of Jaden McDowell. And a burst of speed on the return up across the 25 to the 27 or 28. Let's see exactly where they spot this, but that'll be the field position for the Chargers of Crest.
I thought they'd pooch that kick. Crest has had probably both teams handling that thing at high pooch up to the sideline around the 20 or 25. They're deciding who's going to handle it. Crest has let the ball hit twice, I remember, when it's a sin back at that on a kickoff, let that ball hit.
Here comes Gaffney with some pressure and a little too early in arriving, it would seem. As charging was Amari Foster Boyd, one of the juniors in that Gaffney secondary, but he arrived a little too quickly.
That three-man front, like I said, they're going to send somebody from somewhere. You just don't know where, and he was trying to time that. And so he had trips to there's Gaffney's sideline. So once that linebacker came, then that just said they were man-to-man then.
So 1st and 5, rolling out this way. Addison one more time, and he's got first down yardage to the 40. So you can move the chains with a First Franklin Financial first down for the Crest Chargers. Here's another look at the first down toss.
And that's a good open field tackle right there, because the way that these receivers for both teams are turning it upfield, if you miss, they're gone.
I'll look to Carson this time to gain some yardage after the First Franklin Financial first down, and he's up across the 40 in his own right to the 43. And we got another flag coming in here, Kenny, at the end of this play at the 8:59 mark.
Well, they were going offensive linemen downfield there to hit the go into the safety, just blocking, and he kind of got the best of him a little bit, and the Crest kid swung a little bit, and it's always the second guy that swings that gets caught. So I believe the Gaffney player is going to be penalized for it.
Officials gathered up to talk it over. And it is going to be a personal foul against the Indians. Let's see what we can discover from the given camera angles here, Kenny. Walk us through what you saw.
You know, that's once they got off here, you'll see it's down the field. It's done down the field where they got into the tussle there. It wasn't there. Yeah. But, you know, one was just pushing, and the one that pushed didn't get caught. The other one just kind of pushed him back, and he got caught.
A little bit further away from the action.
Yeah,
8:51 to go here. A First Franklin Financial first down in effect. As into Gaffney territory, Crest goes to work. It's going to be given to Carson one more time. And a football loose inside the 40. Gaffney believing they've covered it up. We wait for an official signal. And it is Gaffney football. The Indians with the first takeaway. We talked about some tense moments a little earlier here and there, but they're celebrating on the far side. Kenny is here. It pops out of the grasp of Carson, and Gaffney will take over.
I was just thinking about one play earlier. I said, it's about time somebody's going to put the ball on the ground for it being the first ball game. Both these teams are handling the ball pretty well. And usually lots of teams, you'll see them pro, college, whatever, right after turnover, go deep. The defense is on their heels a little bit. First thing you have is people running in there, but a lot of teams go deep no matter what.
We've already seen the strength of Riley Staten's arm. This will hold that up for a moment.
Well, the element of surprise now as far as just the shock factor as far as a fumble, and they're coming on the field real quick, going, head down just some, and that's when you could run by folks. So I don't know if they'll try that now after the delay.
Xavier Jeffries coming on for Gaffney with that last substitution, and this had potential to be picked off, but it is in and out of the hands of Maverion Brooks. He's made a couple of key plays already tonight, may have had his biggest on the horizon right there, just couldn't hang on. Does break this up, but could not quite come away with the pick.
Well, the key there, you see the quarterback, he's still backpedaling instead of setting his feet, and the receiver had the safety beat. If he could have been able to set his feet, that would have been another completion and a touchdown.
underneath the beautiful Carolina sky you see in the distance. Everything hanging on every play right now between these two, separated by just a field goal. On the ground, it's given to Jaden McDowell, and McDowell is across the 40. He's to the 44-yard line. And a third down is coming for Gaffney near midfield. There's still 8 minutes and change remaining in this opening half.
This is going, second's going a lot quicker than the first. The first lasted about 45 minutes, I noticed.
Trying to figure out one adjustment here, one adjustment there. You saw Jim Sosby, one of the heralded
Crest needs
coaches.
to stop.
The history of the Carolinas on your screen. Staten steps up into a pocket and hits his man, Jamarcus Smith, who had the touchdown run earlier. He had set down beyond the marker, and it is enough for a First Franklin Financial first down for Gaffney.
That would have been important for Crest because that would have been a 3 and a out after that turnover. And now you notice that now they're doing NASCAR. They're getting back up the line of scrimmage, and Crest isn't getting the defense in. They're on their heels.
Going to be Tate given the football this time. As you said, quick effort to get the snap off, and Tate runs forward into a host of green jerseys around the 44-yard line.
You see Crest milling around now, a little tired, and now there's Gaffney staying at the line of scrimmage. It's slowed down a little bit, but they're, getting up to the ball. They're not quite NASCAR right now.
A little more methodical this time around as Gaffney puts Little John in motion. And they set up a screen on the far side. Plenty of room down the sideline. And finally driven out of bounds is Smith at around the 20.
See how quick they get up the ball now.
Oh, another First Franklin Financial first down, and that will put Gaffney in the First Bank red zone.
There they go. See, Crest is still off the ball. I would call timeout if I was Crest.
First Bank red zone opportunity for Gaffney. Indians would be looking for a lead for the first time if they turn this into a touchdown this drive. And no room for Quay Tate as he's given the handoff. Again, that front for Crest was waiting.
That was a big stop there. I figured they'd prop that with them being on their heels some.
Second down 9. Everybody
That's
moving for
call.
Crest that time.
That's a good call.
And that'll make it around the 14-yard line where Gaffney will have the football.
And that's not just like they go on too. They practice that. Teams practice, especially when you see a team that's coming hard like Crest.
Tate spins out of a tackle down to the 5-yard line, and that's going to be enough to move the chains again. So as they go deeper into the First Bank red zone, it's another First Franklin Financial first down.
They're on the ball right now. They're going to let those Hogs do the work up front.
Here comes Gaffney, ready to roll again on the first down play. First and goal, and Tate is stacked up on the first down play. So second and goal coming from just inside the 5 with 5:55 remaining in the opening half. Again, the Gaffney Indians have not led in this football game.
They brought in a power set. They brought all the receivers out. Let's see what formation they're in. They got
the visitors trying to change that right now, and with that personnel adjustment, Crest calls for a timeout.
Don't blame them. You got 3. Any team that would be driving, to me, it's just like a basketball game. When a team gets to going and gets to rolling, hey, call that timeout to change the complexion of the game and the tempo of the game, and get your team settled down. And I believe it needs to be done in football more. I don't see it a lot, but if somebody, I see that out there, because a lot of times I had about 7 or 8 kids going both ways, if not more, and it was the only time I could get out there to them and maybe adjust defensively on the field.
Carolina Moon overseeing a tight contest in second quarter action between these two. Boy, what a beautiful sky we had just moments ago. What a gorgeous football game that we have been able to witness to this point, that the fans have turned out for. But you see those coaching staffs, Kenny, we'll get into it before the night's done, but some new faces on both coaching staffs this year. difference makers for these teams. You never know when that one decision, that one timely pause in the action can make all the difference. That one individual you bring over with a new mindset. It'll be interesting to see what in-game adjustments are made tonight. Here is that power set. Here is Gaffney powering right behind it to the left side. And they will give it to McDowell, who carries it across the goal line. Gaffney out front for the first time tonight.
I think Gaffney could do that in the middle of the field. They don't have to do it down at the goal line to have success.
Toward that big offensive line makes such a difference. Putting those playmakers in behind it, and now heavily on to hold as Spadavecchia gets set to put a foot into the extra point, which is true. And a 4-point lead for Gaffney as the Indians use those big bodies up front. And Jaden McDowell following them to pay dirt. Well, these two teams met in 97 and 98. That was a 47-20 win for Gaffney at Crest in 97, 35-0 at Gaffney in 98. You'll remember that 97 battle between these two teams. A guy by the name of Kentrell Jones ended up leading Gaffney as they worked their way forward in that contest, that memorable year. Think about some of the names for Crest back in those days when they were playing. Shamar Finney, of course, Chesley Borders, one of the great wide receivers, Bradshaw Littlejohn, who now part of that Gaffney administration, was one of the wide receivers on the Gaffney side of things in those days when they played in the late 90s. They both come into 2023 highly regarded, ranked second in the state in their respective divisions. And it's Gaffney leading at 24-20.
You go to both sidelines and look at all these coaches down here. I would say 90% of their sideline are former players that's been associated with the team for a while.
9 plays, 61 yards later, the Indians out front for the first time as a result of that. What's the value of it, Kenny? And you talk about it. I mean, Dan Jones on that far sideline for Gaffney, he's a hometown product. He played there. He's been on the sideline there 3 decades plus now. He's breaking records there due to the length of his tenure and the success that he's put together. What's the value of understanding the tradition? You got so many of these coaches on the Crest side that grew up in the area, even those coming over from the Kings Mountain area, they know this region of the country. What's the value of it?
Yeah, you got a pride factor there, and the tradition stays there. And the kids love to hear stories about things that happened in the past, and they know you've been through it, and they know you care. And that's probably one of the biggest things. They know just how much you care about the program and the area.
Particularly when you can pull the rings out of the drawer, right? Show them the success that has been experienced over the years, as so many of these coaches can for both these programs. A.J. Adams, the target once more. Adams, who's had his name called regularly. If you're just joining us, A.J. Adams, Malachi Addison, and Vari Green, who, as advertised, has had a couple of touchdowns he's been involved in tonight. Aiden Carson, a long touchdown run earlier. And Tater Husky, as they call him, Datavius Husky, has been everything they want him to be at the quarterback position here in the opener, and he continues to engineer this offense. Speaking of Carson, gives it off his direction, a little closer toward midfield at the 44 and the 39 up near the 40, and there's a third down coming that will be critical for Crest.
Watching Coach Soulsby down there on the sideline, he's been through so many of these wars and signaling it in. And I was telling you, we've faced each other 10 to 12 times. I was calling the defense on, and he calling the offense for the Hendersonville, Thomas Jefferson, and it was. I mean, we had some battles now.
See what he's dialed up here. A toss, and it's just in and out of the hands of the intended target. Tajay Borders trying to get involved. We invoked some of those names of old, right? There's one on the back of the jersey that's familiar to folks in the Crest area. Almost reeled this in as you see the job that was done to give him a chance by Husky there. Yeah, Coach Sosby, you're talking about it, Kenny. He serves as the offensive coordinator. Gerald Wilson, the DC, on the Crest side of things, but it's Jim Sosby's when it comes to the play calling on the offensive side of the football for Crest. The second-year head coach will be making the final decision on all the offensive calls tonight and throughout this season.
Yeah, I remember when he came to Thomas Jefferson, that we faced him, and he was running offense. There's that nightmare again in the kicking game, the first game.
Well, a flag down at the 36. Gaffney will return this up near midfield, and flags come in on the backside of this right on the Crest logo. But the first flag down at the time of the kick, and there'll be plenty to sort out on this play.
But he brought from Greenville stuff I'd never seen before. And I was scrambling trying to, figure out what to do with it, because he had to spread out like a weak swash all the way across the field, and then would just look and see how many people you had in the box, and then he would signal into play from there. And so I had to show that we went along and throughout our careers and faced each other. He would look to see what I had, and then I would switch. And he got into one night at Hendersonville. He crawled on top of the building and called offensive plays.
Whatever gives you a better perspective,
Yeah.
right? You got to love him. One of the great gentlemen in this game, and the quote he had to start the year, just classic of his coaching mindset and style. He said, somebody asked him about all the expectations coming into 2023 for this Crest team, and he said, yeah, expectations and 50 cents will buy you a newspaper. That's his perspective on it. It's all about what you do when the ball is snapped, and so far his team has been effective on so many levels tonight, and everything that you would think he would hope them to be, for them to be in this battle that nobody anticipated doing anything other than going right down to the wire. Now, both coaches being given an explanation of all the different things that transpired on that kicking play.
Yeah, Coach Sosby, he's a treat to talk to too. I mean, he's funny, and both these men have been through a lot and seen a lot. But as great Johnny Anderson, that was at McDowell, taught me so much. He says, Kenny, about the time you think you've seen it all in football, you ain't.
What keeps you coming back?
There's something you haven't seen.
Who knows what we'll see tonight. Under 4 to play in the opening half. Gaffney keeps it on the ground. Going to be Tate struggling for every yard up near the 38. And second down is coming. A couple of head coaches that added additional coaches to their staff of consequence this year. Coach McAbee, strength and conditioning coach from Hendersonville, you talked about coming over, being a part of this. A couple of additions from the Kings Mountain area on the Crest side of things. And for Gaffney, breaking in a couple of new members of the staff as well. So, everybody beginning to piece it together on, what do they call it? Week 0, night 1 of the high school football season. And you're seeing some of the things that will be cleaned up by both of these teams as we get a little deeper into the year, as the penalties begin to take over in the latter stages of the second quarter. Going to all sort out to a second down and a handful for Gaffney at the 43-yard line. This caught up near the 50. That's enough for a First Franklin Financial first down. So Gaffney with 3:19 and ticking downward once they reset the chains, remaining with which to work in this first half, and the lead having been secured here in the second quarter on the march up near midfield once more. You get the sense in some ways, Kenny, that Riley Staten is starting to settle in a little bit, develop some confidence at the quarterback position. This will hurt that effort as the ball is on the ground, and there's the takeaway Crest had been hoping for. So a Gaffney takeaway moments ago, returning the favor. The Chargers will have the football just inside Gaffney territory on the exchange.
He had settled it.
He was looking as if the confidence was there, but all of a sudden, and this is how quickly it can change, the exchange, the difference.
That pocket didn't look good at all by that running back.
Right there.
He just kind of, one arm was different instead of keeping that pocket like he should, keeping it clean, and one arm came out a little bit too wide.
Well, look who broke through and jumped on the football that time. for these
They said in
Crest Chargers.
critical moments that the
Might be
better
there.
players are going to be playing both ways.
Well, in critical moments, the playmakers have come up huge on both sides. Here's one of them as Aiden Carson will take the handoff near side this go-around. Well, let's talk both quarterbacks for a moment. I'm mentioning how Staten had settled in just a little bit, led the Indians ahead for the first time a moment ago. Husky's been fairly consistent for the Chargers, and boy, does he have a high ceiling athletically for this team.
Yeah, I've never seen. I would hate to try to. Of course, Coach Sosby, when he was in Hendersonville, he had athletes there, and I had to go get him. I couldn't sit back on our heels.
Yeah, skill playmakers on both sides, tremendous. And if you missed it when we talked about it earlier, 3A preseason player of the year in Husky. And he may not be the headliner, but he's the field general for this squad. And an all-state performer a season ago who was responsible for 50 total touchdowns. Just continues to march this Crest team with every opportunity. 2:12 and ticking downward to go. Now Crest at midfield. Here's a big third down. Husky, all kind of real estate. He finally decides there's enough real estate, knocks a defender off, and will not be denied until he reaches the 22-yard line.
Oh,
well, there's two things
goodness.
about that play. Number one, the decision he made to pull it down and get the first down. The other, the sheer athletic ability he showed to run over his defender.
Oh, that poor fella from Gaffney. He's not going to want to watch that on film.
Take a look at Tater Husky.
Didn't wrap.
And he finds himself at the 22-yard line.
He just flat didn't wrap his arms. He just thought just even folded his arms up.
Both quarterbacks, plenty of confidence. Right now, it belongs to Husky, as does the football. Looking toward the end zone. Reading it all the way in the end zone and coming away with the pick was Jaden Sims. Sims watching the quarterback all the way. You saw it in his body language. The only question was going to be, is there enough end zone for him to bring this in? And Jaden Sims with the pick in the back corner that stalls the Crest drive.
That is a huge play for Gaffney.
Watch the junior full extension, and he'll land with the football. A trio of takeaways, different in their essence. And Jaden Sims letting you know how he feels about it for the Gaffney Indians, as it's Gaffney football now at the 20-yard line. Staten's turn again. Punch and counter punch between these two border rivals. Up top. And in and out of the hands of Amazing Littlejohn, the intended target.
He geared that down like it was going to affect a type of screen out there and then try to blow it past the defensive back. Starting to call a little bit of everything here now. Game had picked up some, and then now
more flags.
Flags start getting on the field.
This is going to be holding against Gaffney.
Well, I think both teams are starting to feel the heat. They're getting tired. You see by the body language of on both sides.
McDowell works his way far side. He's going to find some room. Got plenty of blockers, and he's got a first down, and somehow escapes the tacklers again. They're going to say his progress had finally stopped over near that sideline. It is a first Franklin Financial first down for Gaffney.
It may come down to which team's in better shape. The way this is looking, because we got some hands on the hips and people walking around. It may come down to that by the middle of the fourth quarter.
1:22 to go in the opening half. And Gaffney leading at 24-20.
You know, these hot evenings like this, especially first game, you see kids are starting to get a little beat up a little bit and getting sloppy. As the officials would have about every so many minutes, they would have a water timeout for both sides and bring water out to both teams and just have stoppage of play. And as you see right now, it would not be a bad idea to be doing that.
82 degrees at the time of kickoff tonight. Still very warm, bright sunshine illuminating the field as rolled in here in the late afternoon hours. And boy, that's one thing coaches worry about this time of year, right? Am I going to be able to keep my kids healthy? The good news, up and moving off under his own power is Zyrion Jamison. That's one of the captains on the defensive side of the ball for this Crest squad. Jamison came out with the captain group of Husky and Green and Adams. Those the four captains selected by their coaches and their teammates this year to lead this Crest team. So, again, good news. He's working his way across here. Looks like
that's the first I've used it by now. You've had 2 or 3 cramps, but that was the first. When you see those toes up, that's how you stop that cramp in your leg. You bring those toes straight up to hold that thing off.
The Gaffney Indians leading by 4, 1 minute, 2 seconds, and working downward now inside the final minute of the opening half as Gaffney has its second down and 8. And it's just going to be thrown away over to that Gaffney sideline. So the clock stops ahead of the third down play with 51 seconds remaining in the half. What's at your disposal right here on 3rd and 8? 50 seconds left, slightly in your own territory here, Kenny.
Well, would have probably tried to control the clock there a little bit better with that. That's a play that didn't work earlier. It looked sloppy running that one. The routes don't look real crisp as they did before.
Let's see what they opt for here. 45-yard line just across that is what Gaffney will need. And hit and dropped immediately the ball carrier.
Crest should call timeout here.
So timeout is going to be called for by Crest. It'll come with 45 seconds remaining. Gaffney's thought run as much clock as possible, force them to use the timeout. They'll do so as you see the stop. And how impressed are you with the way Crest has played up on that defensive front thus far?
They've done a lot better. They just got gashed a couple times. But overall, they've done a pretty decent job as far as what I was thinking how big those guys are.
Eric Mitchell, who you see there, of course, Finn Allen, who's a part of that grouping. We've called Stephon Bethune's name from time to time tonight. Bubba Johnson, who wears jersey number 8. Zyrion Jamison, who you saw come off just a little bit ago, a big part of the mix this evening as well for that Crest group defensively. Again, 45 seconds remaining. Fans having been entertained to a 24-20 score. Gaffney leading it inside the final minute of the first half.
If Gaffney just all of a sudden come out once they got the ball right there in that power set, they got down to goal line. It just went, no huddle, NASCAR real quick and just powered it down the field. I don't think Crest would have had to call another timeout just to get that stuff straight.
We burn one here to preserve enough time to try and take for a spin after the punt. It's going to roll inside the 20 to the 17-yard line. And that is where Crest will take over. So what does Coach Sosby, Latavius Husky, have up his sleeve here with 32 seconds left with which to work?
Well, the one big thing down here is if I did anything, it would be getting in number 6's hands, which I don't see Mr. Green out there right now. Otherwise, I think if they're going to go in and just go ahead and run out the clock.
Well, they're running trips out here to the near side for good measure. Husky. Little toss over the middle. Boy, that's gathered up beautifully. And it's enough for a first down. It'll stop the clock momentarily at the 24-second mark. After the first down reception. Boy, take a look at the job done just to gather this in by Aiden Carson.
They made something happen out of nothing.
Clock rolling again now at 20 seconds. Husky going to run this up the middle himself. That's first down yardage again. He's thinking about a whole lot more than that. Into Gaffney territory. They're going to try and seal off one more man for him at the 26-yard line. He is out of bounds with 7 ticks remaining.
Mercy.
In the first half. And it appears as if there may be more when it's said and done here. Take a look at this run by the 3A preseason player of the year in North Carolina.
That's a good sound safe play down there too. I remember him running that a lot when he was at Hendersonville. And then cool heads win close ball games. You got to keep it cool with this being this tight.
So the question where the football is going to be spotted with 7 seconds remaining in the half. Gaffney is leading the game 24-20. But Husky and the Chargers certainly in a position to change that narrative heading into the locker room.
They could have all 7 penalties right here and just leave it.
Ball originally being spotted at the 24. And it is going to be on the Chargers, on the Indians.
That's a safe way to go.
So the ball will be at the 24-yard line. 7 seconds left in the half. All kind of playmakers and all kind of options. And
where's
boy,
Mr.
you got an
Green?
offensive mind against the defensive mind right now. Dan Jones, who was a longtime defensive coordinator, and Jim Sosby on the other side trying to call the offensive play, the offensive mind on the Crest side of things. One of the great internal chess matches going on this play with a halftime lead hanging in the balance. 6, 5, clock ticking downward. Husky unable to get away initially. This for sure now the final play of the half. He throws for the end zone, has a man, and it is caught for a touchdown. A.J. Adams open in the end zone. After time had expired in the opening half, it was the final play of the first half of action, and it will give Crest the lead as the teams head to the locker room.
I'd run that power set, go to 2. They can't kick it worth a hoot.
Kenny referring to the 2 missed extra points earlier. Although this would make it a 3-point game should they kick it.
Different kicker.
Nick Sanchez puts a right foot into it. It is end over end and no good. Crest nonetheless will have the lead. Crest will have the lead by a count of 26-24 at the intermission after the Chargers score on the final play of the opening half, and it was Husky making something happen with his skills, finding Adams, who was waiting in the end zone, and there's the man who drew it up, getting ready to talk with Nelson. Jim Sosby with one of his gems, that offensive play call, and he joins us on the Carolina Furniture Concepts Coach's Corner.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Well, Coach, I got to tell you, there is no better way to go into the half with such a beautiful burst of momentum like the one we just saw a second ago. This has been a great and exciting and dynamic match that everybody hoped it was going to be. I mean, the fans are excited. The crowds are electrified. I mean, what are your thoughts right now, Coach?
Our quarterback's pretty daggone good, isn't he? How about that? This is what you want. It's high school football, man. It's great. Great atmosphere, great game. We just hope we can keep it up for 48 minutes.
Now, Coach, what's going to be the message to the boys in the locker room for the second half?
It's a 48-minute game, so nobody's handing out any trophies right now. We got to keep going all 48 minutes.
All right, Coach. Good luck to you and your boys in the second half. Thank you. Back to you, Kenny. Back to you, Jason.
He is a big fan of Natavius Husky, and I could say Mr. Green, Mr. Carson, Mr. Adams, Mr. Addison, the list goes on and on. His playmakers providing Crest a 26-24 lead after an entertaining first half of action in the border battle between a couple of teams coming in ranking number 2 in their respective states. Are you surprised they're separated by 2? At the intermission.
Hey there, everybody. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Asheville Chevrolet Halftime Show right here on Friday Night Rivals. Who better to join us than our long-standing and terrific partners from Asheville Chevrolet? Y'all know them well, Stan Anders and Bobby Roussel. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to see you both.
Always a pleasure. Great to see you.
Indeed.
Great to have football back.
Of course, we're all excited about the football. I know they are too out there. Now, Stan, it kind of makes me wonder, though, just for the sake of clarity, on one hand, can you share with us some insight into the longevity of y'all's support for this remarkable program? But on the other hand, can you also share with us why? Why is it so critical for y'all to frequently invest in high school athletics in the community as a whole?
Well, we've been doing this from day one, and it's been over a decade that we've been involved. And we want to do that because it's a way to give back to the high school community. These players and cheerleaders and coaches, they want their families to be able to see them when they make a great play or see what kind of hard work that they've been doing. So we love this opportunity to give back.
That does sound like a remarkable opportunity. Now, Bobby, I turn to you on this one because as prolific businessmen as y'all both are, it kind of makes me also wonder, as y'all are both more than well aware, great businesses are predicated on the idea of terrific customer service. But I know for a fact, Asheville Chevrolet, y'all are predicated on the idea of exceptional customer service. How exactly do y'all do it? You know, what's the secret out there?
Well, Nelson, we have customers for life because we give them that extra, whatever they need, whatever it takes to make them come back. And anybody can sell you one car. I want to sell you 5 or 6 cars. Wow. And we don't sell cars. We don't mark them up to mark them down. We sell the cars at list price while the other dealers were taking advantage of COVID and selling them over list. We sell them at list. We don't change. We give you a fair price and a fair number on your trade to make you happy and make you come back.
That all sounds like fantastic work. Well, Bobby, Stan, as always, on behalf of the entire community and the region as a whole, I want to thank y'all for y'all's long and robust support of high school athletics and more specifically Friday Night Rivals. We truly could not do it without y'all. All right.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Bojangles Friday Night Rivals Halftime, brought to you by Asheville Chevrolet. Friday Night Rivals Scholar Athlete, brought to you by Arby's.
Welcome back to the Asheville Chevrolet Halftime Show here on Friday Night Rivals. Joining us is the Arby's Scholar Athlete winner from Gaffney High School, Mr. Adam Richards. Adam, welcome to the show, my man.
Me.
Of course, and congratulations on the win too, buddy.
Thank you.
Now, Adam, from what I understand, you are a soccer phenomenon. You've been playing varsity soccer since the 9th grade. You won the MVP award, and that says nothing about the fact that you were all region in your 10th and 11th grade years. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who was your favorite soccer player, and what inspired you to first kick around the soccer ball in the first place?
I'd probably have to say Lionel Messi for my favorite soccer player, and
Okay.
just my friends as a young age, just getting out in the yard and playing around, just having fun.
That's terrific, man. I like that. And even outside of athletics, let's shift our attention to academics now. From what I understand, you are an academic phenomenon. You're sitting on a sky-high bad boy 5.0 GPA. You can tell me the exact number in a second. You also made straight A's. You remember the National Honor Society and the Beta Club as well. Is all that correct?
Yes, sir.
How do you find time for academic success? And furthermore, what inspires you and what truly motivates you to achieve academic success in the first place?
Just trying to make my parents proud and doing everything to the best of my abilities.
You're a remarkable guy. So what are some of your post-high school plans, Adam?
I'd love to go to college and play soccer and take over my family's business one day.
Okay, so you could be a businessman one day right
Yes,
around this
sir.
area.
Oh, yeah.
That is terrific work. And even outside of academics and athletics, you still find time to get back to the community. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What are some of your community initiatives that you engage in? And furthermore, where all do you do them?
I do Meals on Wheels. I try to do that every week, and I volunteer at my church trying to help out with the children and everything. And when we having construction around the church and everything, just helping out, trying to give back.
That is fantastic.
Yes,
and speaking of construction, I want to go back to your school activities as well. You're a part of a construction project group. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
What's it called?
Building construction class.
I like
That's
it.
what we call it.
That's fantastic work, man. Well, Adam, once again, you are our Arby Scholar Athlete winner for this week. Congratulations and good luck in all your future endeavors as well.
Sir. Thank you.
All right. Arby's, we have the meats. We'll be back in just a moment. Hey everybody, I'm Nelson Weston. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Friday Night Rivals. Joining us today is our long-standing good friend all the way from Ingalls Markets, Melissa Leva. Good to see you, my friend.
Your football friend.
It's football friend indeed. Now, Melissa, speaking of football, I want to transition from football to the classroom because you and I both know y'all have a famous program called Tools for Schools. And for those who are unfamiliar, how exactly does it operate on one hand, but on the other hand, more importantly, how do the good folks at home go about supporting it and getting involved today?
Oh, Nelson, it's really a wonderful program because it's geared toward the school and the needs that they have that sometimes, lots of times, teachers will actually end up buying out of their own pocket.
Indeed.
You have an Ingalls Advantage card and a list of schools who participate in the Ingalls Tools for School program. Link your card to one of those schools, and every time you shop, you're earning dollars. At the end of the year, the school can go and purchase what items they need.
Oh, that sounds like an amazing and well-rounded program.
Right.
Now, Ingalls, y'all have provided robust support to the community for so many years now. We're talking high school athletics, college athletics, and everything in between. It does beg the fundamental question, why? Why is it so critical for y'all?
Well, it's not just sports, but it's also educational programs, but we're the home team. Ingalls is your hometown grocery market. So you are also supporting our home teams.
Of course.
It's really important for us to be a part of that community. We love being part of that, and we're blessed to be able to do that. Lots of those students work at our stores or graduated from those schools. We see these people in church. We see these people at work. This is a really big deal for us. Might be a big company to look at us from the outside in, but we like being beacons in our own communities.
Y'all are beacons indeed. All outstanding work. Now, Melissa, very quickly, you and I both know no great game is complete without delicious, mouth-watering good food. What are some of the most popular items on y'all's menu?
Oh my goodness, you have to start off with a wonderful boar's head sub, just absolutely good with all the trimmings, great fried chicken, all the sides you could possibly want, a wonderful salad bar, a wing bar, olive bar. I mean, I don't know if I could decide. I just have to go get a big old wheelbarrow and take it all there, plus all the things you need like chips and drinks and paper plates. One-stop shopping place for all your tailgating.
Oh, fantastic work indeed. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you, Nelson.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment.
Shaping up to be one of those last one with the football nights. And, boy, you think about all the plays we have seen so far in this one, Kenny Ford. A first half filled with highlights. And, we're only at the midway point. There's a whole lot of football left tonight. They're the new quarterback this season of the Gaffney Indians, getting ready to lead his team back out in the second half here in the next few moments. But here were the first half highlights, and you're going to see a number of playmakers for a Crest team that carried the lead into the locker room.
I've never seen this many big plays in one half, ever. If the second half is anything like this, which way it's shaping up, it's going to come down to the last play, and somebody can make a big play and be on the 1 yard line and go 99 yards to win the game.
There was Riley Staten's connection with J. Marcus Smith, and one of the answers, Aiden Carson's long touchdown run, but the playmaking ability of the quarterback. Tater Husky, as they call him here. He's a returning all-state performer. He's got plenty of weapons like Vari Green, who you saw, A.J. Adams, who made some outstanding plays, Carson on the ground. I mean, there are so many different ways that these teams can come at you. As teams in both states will find out along the way. That was the touchdown run of Jaden McDowell. Here you see the sophomore involved once more. And then at the end of the half, A.J. Adams, after time had expired, the final extended play, by the athletic ability of Natavius Husky, and it provided the 2-point advantage that Crest enjoys. How about these overall numbers from the first half?
There's teams playing tonight that'll go halfway through the season and won't have those kind of stats.
And again, we're only halfway through the football game. Many adjustments to be made on both sides. Let's check in once more with Nelson as he's with the head coach.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Well, Coach, I got to tell you, this has been the exciting and dynamic tit-for-tat kind of match that we all hoped it was going to be. Momentum has swung this way in one moment, swung back that way the next moment. Both teams have done an excellent job moving the ball downfield, especially when it came to that passing game as well. And I got to say, both teams had spectacular defenses as well, especially on third down. What was the message to the boys in the locker room, Coach?
Well, I disagree on the defenses when it's 26-24 at halftime, but I think, number one for Crest, super athlete, we're having trouble tackling him, and the defensive linemen are getting past him, and he's getting a free look downfield, and he's hitting some open receivers. So we got to do a decent job of corralling that young man and make him at least throw over some people. And offensively, we got to be able to control the ball a little more, move it downfield, and not rely on big plays to get in the end zone.
All right, Coach. Good luck to you and your boys in the second half. We'll be back
Those
in
are
just
the
a moment.
thoughts of head coach Dan Jones. Defensive mind, you heard his defensive perspective. One thing for sure, a tight contest between these two. Second half coming up on the other side of the break. Well, getting set for the second half of action. Final instructions being passed along from these two coaches before the chess match resumes. And Kenny, we saw the highlights. You walked through the numbers. Now we talk adjustments. What adjustments do you foresee being made on both sides based upon the half of football you just watched?
Well, I know both coaches have probably, I don't. If no team has driven the football, it's all been big gash type plays. If whoever can stay away from the other team big plays is going to win this football game and make some stops. But both teams' big playability has made this game the way it is. Like those stats for a first half and for a first game, lots of times the defense usually has an advantage in the first game because it's hard for offenses to, have their timing down and things like that. But a lot of these big plays have been busted plays. It's not like he's been set plays and it worked.
Yeah, yards after the catch, a big storyline in this game. And you said it, all these playmakers on both sides off the bus, ready to get the 23 season underway. And it'll be Gaffney who won the toss and deferred until this second half with the football first this time around. I'll ask you this about both quarterbacks as they lead their teams out again, but how about the first-year quarterback of Gaffney, the transfer, Riley Staten, from Gray Collegiate? Obviously, you can see the potential that is there. What have you thought about his play thus far?
Well, when he gets time to set his feet, he makes plays. He gets it to people. On the other hand, the quarterback for Crest, you don't want his feet set. I mean, he's making plays moving.
Sometimes making his own time. We saw the arm strength from Riley Staten. That much is sure on that connection with Medley earlier in the game. Gaffney going to start by tossing it to Little John to begin things. And he is covered up at the 37 after a gain of just a handful. Indians, again, trailing it, as you can see, by just a couple. And if you walked away toward the end of the first half, it was that outstanding playmaker at the quarterback position, young Mr. Husky, who you just heard Kenny Ford reference, finding A.J. Adams in the end zone on the final play of the first half to reclaim the lead for Crest. This is a Crest team that led the majority of that first half. Gaffney taking over in the second period to lead for what looked like it was going to be the balance of the second quarter. But down 2 as they start the third quarter with the football. Already seeing a couple of players hobble around, grabbing the back of those the back of those legs, cramping. A little bit of an issue tonight, as you would expect, as summer tries to give way to fall at the start of the football season. Trying to lunge forward for a First Franklin Financial first down is Jaden McDowell, and it looks like
that'd be close.
They're going to spot this. Well, it's right at the marker. Here's McDowell.
I think he's got it. The play before was the first time that I saw them pull the guard and tackle, pull people. And that's what scares you deaf, these big linemen. If they can move and pull and run some counters off this, and it sounded like the head coach for for Gaffney, said they've kind of decided, let's just stick it down their throats, take this thing over.
This is a Gaffney team trying to perhaps use that physical nature of that offensive line as they keep it on the ground in the early stages of this third quarter. See if perhaps you said it, if they can wear this team down. That pops out, and it's going to be covered up initially by Crest. Now, Gaffney trying to sell that they were able to get it back at the bottom of the pile. That had disaster written all over it for Gaffney, and Crest was at least initially appearing opportunistic, but it eluded Brooks and company as quickly as it looked like it was there for the take.
That's a lost start recovering from it. Watch how this number 8, he just kind of it's flat. You've got to curl up and bring that thing in like a local bed. Pull it in there, bring your knees up, and pull it in as tight as you can. And I don't see that being taught as much.
Ty J. Johnson, Bubba Johnson, as he's known here at Crest. First on the seam, stays with Gaffney. It'll make a difference that it does. Hitting the seam and taking it home to reclaim the lead for Gaffney is Littlejohn. And there's a glimpse of Riley Staten taking advantage of his Indians being able to hang on to the football to open the third quarter.
And setting his feet. Now, how big a play was that by Crest not recovering that ball that they should have the play before?
Look at this cut by Littlejohn, and then he finds another gear to work it to the end zone, and the Indians looking for the extra point.
And again, when he's able to set his feet, he makes things happen. He gets it to one of those receivers. And that's a long time in route to get that. To throw that route, it takes a little time.
Started with the backs, but it ends up being the connection between Riley Staten and Amazing Littlejohn to put Gaffney back out front early third.
Friday Night Rivals is brought to you in part by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Over $5 million of furniture in stock, ready to deliver to you. Visit their Arden and Waynesville showrooms or go to CarolinaFurnitureConcepts.com.
Well, after winning the toss earlier tonight, the Gaffney Indians deferred for an opportunity to have the first impact of the second half. They did just that. Gaffney marching down and scoring to reclaim the lead. After Crest had taken the advantage on the final play of the opening half, and a whole lot of football left for you to enjoy tonight between these two. That's going to work out of bounds, and in doing so, will give Crest even better field position to start this drive as they look to answer for the first time in the half. 6 plays, 66 yards, including the 50-yard connection that you saw between Staten and Littlejohn, the marks of that Gaffney drive. And guess what?
Guy who wowed him with both his feet and his throwing ability. Nitavius Husky on that final play of the first half is back at it for the first time here in the third quarter. I ask you this about Staten. Break down the performance of Husky at quarterback so far, Kenny.
Yeah, he's a lot better when he doesn't set his feet. It's totally opposite. I want to know where Green is, number 6.
This time around, they're going to call the number of Malachi Addison.
They don't need it.
Addison, going to remind you where he is, and a big-time hit at the end of this is coming up to try and make the stop for Gaffney was Deontay Robbs, one of the juniors in that secondary. Here's another look at the connection with Addison.
What's this block right here by number 2? Foul.
So if you like the pro pocket, set your feet. If you like the quarterback trying to make plays with his feet, if you like big hits and big-time plays, well, this has been your flavor tonight. Whichever of those you prefer, you're going to get a little bit of all of it in this one and a lot of football left. This is Husky striving for every inch as he is eventually covered up. That's Robbs again, who is there to help provide the stop for Gaffney. Still a handful of yards there for Husky. Let's get another look at that toss just a moment ago when he connected out on the perimeter with Addison.
They could have called that for an out-of-bounds hit if they wanted to. Let them play.
Second down coming. First possession of the second half for Crest. Husky, a nice fake. And he totes it inside the 30 down to the 27-yard line. And the other thing about Husky, the other thing about Husky is how well he sells that as well.
Yeah, he rides it in there and run past the option. I don't think as far as he has because he's not reading the handing that thing off. He's just reading what that corner's going to do.
3A preseason player of the year. He was an all-state performer and the all-conference offensive player selection a year ago here in Big South 3A. If you missed it when we gave it to you in the first half, 50 touchdowns he was responsible for, over 3,200 yards passing and 1,000 more on the ground. And he's got playmakers like A.J. Adams, who caught that touchdown pass at the end of the half and catches this reception across the 25 and is down to the 23. Here's another look.
That is definitely a run play. He does have that option to hand off there or run it or see what that corner has done with that receiver. There's your all-state player.
You asked for Vari Green, the North Carolina commitment, and freshly so. Has a couple of touchdowns himself tonight. Tremendous job running one in, and then found wide open spaces for a touchdown reception as well. And to the 6-yard line on the carry this time around as they hand it off to Tank Ruff for a First Franklin Financial first down. Takes them down into the First Bank red zone. You talked about Tank Ruff and the impact he has made on both sides of the football. Here he is on the carry.
They said if it gets crunch time that some of these players are going to go both ways.
Starting to happen. Crunch time in the early stages of the third quarter. The junior Tank Ruff still in the game. Fake to give his direction this time, and it's Husky keeping himself, and that's down to about the 3-yard line. 7:22 remaining in the third quarter. Gaffney coming out, down 2 at the break, scoring to take the lead a moment ago. It is Crest on the march now, and the Chargers are poised to snatch that advantage right back.
This looks like their power set up, what there is of it.
He's got 2 backs protecting him. Beautifully designed and well executed as it's Carson who ends up with the football. And I'll go back to Huskies' ability to sell the play, Kenny.
They did it, and they can run the option. That's for sure.
And it is Aiden Carson in the end that becomes the pitch man. And Carson, for the second time tonight, into the end zone with a rushing touchdown. This one not with as much distance as was required before, but it puts the same 6 up on the board, and it reclaims the lead for the Crest Chargers.
Lined up in the same formation.
Crest, of course, missing a couple of extra points early in the game. They've gone for 2 as often as not since. And coming this side,
to break the play. The 2-point conversion is good, and it will put Crest up 3. So the Chargers using the ground game once they get within striking distance. Here's the pitch for the touchdown to Aiden Carson. And it's Crest back on top. Well, much to smile about on the nth degree orthodontics smile cam, certainly for the home faithful, as Aiden Carson completing a 70-yard drive with that 14-yard touchdown run on the pitch from Husky. And it is Chris again pushing out front on the scoreboard, this time to the tune of a 34-31 advantage. Well, everybody's smiling at one time or another on both sides tonight when you think about how entertaining this game has been. It is the offensive mind of Jim Sosby delivering the last punch in the punch and counter punch that has been the evening. And if you wondered how the third quarter was going to begin, this one out of bounds, and that's going to be another infraction that will enhance the field position a little bit. We've seen that tonight, something, again, that you'll see as these kickers work their way into the season as well.
I don't think it's made much difference for the field positioning.
But I go back to your point. You said, how will the third quarter begin? Is it going to stay a last team with the ball type feel in this one? Well, so far that's the case through a couple of touches, once each of the football for these two teams.
It is, but in a game like this, lots of times, and in fact, it was against Coach Sosby. He was calling offense, I was calling the defense. As I said, was going at it that time, and I think the final score was like 58-56, something like that. And it came down to we made a big, 2 or 3 big stops at the end of the game to win the game. And so it's probably, this is shaping up to be that way. It's going to be not who's going to score, it's who's going to make that big stop that's going to make the difference.
Which defense can stand tall when it matters most. We're a long way from there. Just under 7 minutes remaining in the third quarter. And Chris being forced to kick it again, and that's going to split them and go all the way to the end zone. And it'll be covered up for a touchback. So a tale of two kicks, and this one works out according to the blueprint for the Chargers this time around, as their defense will take the field, supporting that 34-31 advantage.
That cost them 15 yards right there about making them kick that over again. But as we were talking about, that doesn't make any difference where these teams are on the field. All it's going to do is add to the stats.
Yeah, sometimes we talk about being in striking distance. Everywhere on the field is striking distance on a night like this. That's the one thing that we have discovered through 2 quarters plus between these teams. It is Riley Staten out again with his Gaffney Indians, and this is going to be a give to Tate across the 25. Looks like he's got about 8 yards on the carry, so good first down yardage that they'll take time and again. Jade McDowell there as he comes out of the pile.
I think he would like to do that again to keep that offense, Crest offense, off the field.
Another dose
Control
of McDowell.
the ball.
Up across the 30. He's to the 34 this time, and that is a First Franklin Financial first down for Gaffney. one of the storylines you talked so much about when we came in here, and you got one or two Crest players slow to get up, one of which is still not up, and we're going to have a timeout for them to tend to one of those Crest linemen after the first Franklin Financial first down. You talked about the size that Gaffney will try to use as an advantage up front at some point in this game. You see them run Jaden McDowell behind that offensive line in the last several moments. And that was the way the initial drive started, the last scoring drive for Gaffney, as they go back to work here one more time. Again, tending to one of those Crest linemen as we speak, and this looks to be more of what we so often talk about, Kenny, at the early part of the year as they try to work out maybe some of what the warmth of this night creates. They're stretching out that right leg.
Surprised if we hadn't seen more of this, and I think we will as the game goes along with the cramps and as players get tired, you get a little sloppy.
Bubba Johnson,
but hopefully nothing bad.
And Bubba Johnson will trot off under his own power, which again, what we hope to see time and again. 6:21, as you can see, left, and he's not the only one that was being worked on in that way. We'll keep the training staffs busy. And the Week 0 contest to open the high school football season. The first Franklin Financial first down as the Indians set up at the 34. And flags come out once more. This is going to be against Gaffney.
Kind of hurt the momentum there a little bit by doing that. They had Crest reeling some, and they just got to get back on track. As far as they started moving the football and running the football, and Crest had to creep up more to the line of scrimmage, and that's when they did the play action. The quarterback was able to set his feet and complete that long pass.
Crest coming, trying for the screen pass, but it finds open spaces in between the hashes and is incomplete. Coach Sosby out at about the 30-yard line. He saw something there. It was not to his liking.
I think there was some holding going on. They just they read that screen.
The officials walking him back to the sideline ahead of this second down and long. Gaffney behind the sticks. And Staten continue to struggle for possession of the football, and it looked like McDowell ripped it away when all was said and done.
That's not going to be enough for the first down. So,
well, that was a battle of who was going to be credited with the football, because Surratt came in, thought he was going to be able to maybe wrestle it away before all was said and done.
There's been also some really good catches. Also, there've been a lot of big plays after the catch, but there's been some low maintaining the ball possessions.
Little John, I should say, he caught that under duress to the air. And Jamarcus Smith, who had one of the touchdowns earlier for Gaffney, contact at the end of this. One thing you can say, on one play, the Crest sideline beside themselves. On the next play, the Gaffney sideline beside themselves.
I think that little interference there.
They've been allowed to continue to play on moments like that. No doubt what Jamarcus Smith wanted, but it was not to be. 4th down, and the Indians are set to kick it. Return man back at the 28. And he'll just smother this at the 26 on a hop.
Well, that's a good stop there, because he would have cost him probably roll another 10 yards. Just if you just catch it, I just want the return is great, but if you just catch it, that's 10, 15 valuable yards.
When's the last time we saw a team with the lead and the football? They've traded scores to the point of late, back and forth, swapping the lead. That here's the rare occasion of late in which Crest is going to have a 3-point lead, and they get to initiate a drive.
And that's
here.
A good point, Jason, because now they made a stop, and now they come back and score. They'll take the momentum of this ball game.
A little bit of separation perhaps there for the taking, first time in a while, and they will keep it on the ground. Will the Chargers? And that's Aiden Carson carrying it forward, and we got a Gaffney player down. A little bit slow to get up. Well, it looks like he's going to continue.
These teams, they scrimmaged, but they didn't scrimmage long. They wasn't out on the field. Yeah, they've had contact, But as far as continuous contact, this is their first game, and their bodies they're not used to that pounding yet.
Yeah, this opener is a type of game that you play once you get in your region play if you're South Carolina, your conference play if you're North Carolina. This has the feel of one of those critical conference and region games, but you're playing it as your opener, and the consequence of it, simply the bragging rights you get from one spot across the line to the other. But this has all the playmakers you would expect to see and all the emotion you would expect to enjoy once you hit those games that determine your season, Kenny.
We couldn't have had a better start to the TV season here. Jim called me in March or April to see if we could come down and do this game, and I was pleased that the management station jumped all over it. Said, "Heck yeah!"
Probably a good thing we may not have gotten a ticket.
Yeah, no.
3:40 to go in the third. They've been hard to come by tonight. And a toss the direction of Malachi Addison. And it looks as if he reeled that in. That's a First Franklin Financial first down. And that's the latest of the acrobatic moments for Malachi Addison tonight.
He just keeps going on. He got a choice of wherever he wants to throw it and who he wants to throw it to, because they're all playmakers.
Green, Addison, Adams. We've seen Borders targeted on more than one occasion tonight. And then you factor in the ground game with Aiden Carson. Husky with a stable of playmakers. And he fakes the give, will keep it. And here's that burst of speed we've seen from him on more than one occasion as Huskies up near first down yardage again. In fact, they're going to spot him in Gaffney territory at the 48, and that's enough for a First Franklin Financial first down on this run.
I'm watching Coach Sosby down there just orchestrating this, and he is riding that horse right there. He knows that he's the best player on the field in what's going to be a close ball game, and not score wise, but it's going to come down to keep it in your best player's hands.
He's certainly been the headliner for Crest, and he tries to make contact with Addison. Crest wanting a flag for the extracurricular at the end of this, but none will arrive. And again, this game's so intense. There's been so much emotion already through 2 quarters plus that both teams wanting flags that were not to be in recent moments.
Been called. I don't know which way that could have been called. It couldn't have been caught. It was uncatchable is probably what they're saying.
Ron Foster side note in there on the scene as Husky got rid of that at the last moment. And here's the QB one more time. Across the 45. He's inside it down to the 43-yard line.
That's going to be one tired youngin' when this night's over with.
He's still got a quarter plus to play. And a critical third down coming here. Again, Crest with the lead and the football, something these teams have enjoyed on rare occasions tonight. And in the mind of the head coach / offensive coordinator of the Chargers, this next play being drawn up. Needing the 38, Crest. Little pump, goes deep. That's going to be out of bounds where it's eventually near Addison.
That's interesting, taking a deep shot downfield.
On 3rd and 6?
Yeah, when he could have maybe, kind of cut that in half a little bit, made it 4th and 2, and could have kept it in the quarterback's hands again. But Jim, he's gonna take shots now. He's not gonna get to where you're gonna get settled and think you outthink him.
Yeah. A little bit of a fake. They had Green in the personnel grouping, and he makes the connection with A.J. Adams. And Crest executes the 3rd quarter fake to keep the drive alive.
That's a perfect place you're supposed to do that on, too.
There is a flag, and it looks like this one is coming back on a block in the back assist the homestanding Chargers. Well drawn up and well executed, but a block in the back call is going to negate the fake punt.
You work on that. You work on it. It works in just one thing. You set that up, and then, him being an offensive minded coach, you set plays up, you work on it, and that's exactly where you're supposed to do that.
Green came near side, threw back across his body to A.J. Adams.
I can't see where the penalty was.
And a block. Because it is a short punt. Takes an unkind bounce for Crest and will be blown dead at the 37. So instead of first down in the red zone and the drive continuing,
huge
it will
play.
be Gaffney football at the 37. So circle that one.
Yes.
And tuck it away in the back of your mind, because that was one of the big twist and turn moments in this football game.
It is the only twist and turn. I mean, as far as a moment to where that, if that would have been successful, Chris could have gone on and won the football game. We don't know that yet, but it
whole
could
quarter
come down
left,
to
but they certainly would have been in position to extend the lead. And here's Gaffney
There they
now
pull him.
going back to work. Going to be handed to Tate this time, and he's up across the 45 to the 47.
Both times they pulled those linemen, they picked up huge chunks of yardage.
Shedrick Surratt, one of the key pieces of that Gaffney offensive line, hobbling out of there just a bit.
That keeps you honest when you know that they can go run counters and things like that. You know, it's about time for that quarterback to pull it. He hasn't ran the ball really at all.
So the chain's going to be moved here on what is a First Franklin Financial first down. Given to Quay Tate near the 50 after about a 3-yard gain on first down. And we're at just over a minute remaining in the third quarter. 3-point lead for Crest. And Gaffney at midfield as we are closing in on the final period of action.
It seems like both teams are not wanting to, they're wanting to milk that clock some and not let the other team back out on the field that quickly, having the football.
Staten
That's
had a
been their
man in
staple
between
all
a couple
night.
defenders. It's Jamarcus Smith again, and he's to the 30, inside it to the 28-yard line. That is another First Franklin Financial first down. It comes with just over a half minute remaining in the third quarter.
Look, if we see it again, feet set, boom, set his feet, plant that back foot, boom.
Give off to Quay Tate. Tate dragging some of the pile with him to the 20-yard line.
And then what they set that up well. They gash it. They ran that counter play. They hit it, 2 big running plays, and then they start trying to stop the run after that, and then they do a play
Still
action to throw the football.
Dancing forward to the 10-yard line is Quay Tate. That will stop the clock with 1 second remaining in the third. We'll see if Gaffney has time and decides to even get a snap off here. There's 1 second left as they reset the chains, and that will bring the third quarter to a close as expected. So Gaffney knocking on the door, but trailing by 3 after 3. And we check in with Nelson ahead of the fourth period.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Jason. I'm standing here on the sideline with some of the gorgeous cheerleaders of Crest High School. Lady cheerleaders, on behalf of Friday Night Rivals, thank y'all so much for allowing us to be here tonight. Y'all wear those pom-poms. We'll be back in just a moment.
Entering the fourth quarter, quite a contest to open the 2023 season between the Crest Chargers and the Gaffney Indians in Cleveland County tonight. These teams separated by about 16 miles. On the scoreboard, they're separated by just a field goal. Gaffney driving to try and change that. They have it first down just outside the 10-yard line. It's the Indians down by 3, and a little bit of miscommunication, it would appear, before the start of the period as one more personnel change.
I don't know why they've done that about 3 or 4 times, and 50's the one that comes out of the game. The play gets started, and it's number 50 that comes out.
Going to give it to Tate. Tate with a burst of speed up the middle, inside the 5-yard line. Second down coming. The Gaffney team that led for the first time in the second period swapped the lead back and forth with a Crest squad that scored on the final play of the first half to take the lead into the locker room, only to see Gaffney on their opening drive in the third quarter take the lead away. They're trying to do it in the opening seconds of the fourth quarter on the backs of Quay Tate and Riley Staten. And Staten giving off to Tate. It's down to the 3-yard line again. Here comes the third down you were looking for.
There's the beef.
Kenny Ford calling upon Gaffney to use its size and physicality on the doorstep of the goal line. And we got a player down for Crest. It would appear that the training staff is going to have to come out and tend to. Is that?
I'm trying to see some of the sizes of these guys. There's number
Bubba Johnson, who we've seen tended to a couple of times in recent moments. We'll see if we can get a confirmation on exactly who that is down for Crest. And we're being told it is, in fact, Bubba Johnson, as we suspected. And again, they raise that right leg as they work with Bubba Johnson. Coach Jones using this opportunity to talk things over with the officials ahead of what is going to be, and Johnson now up to his feet. Good sign. What is about to be a critical third down here in the early stages of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, according to one of these power sets they brought in, number 75, Jaden McGill, 5'9", 335.
Talked about the Gaffney offensive line several times tonight. 3 returners on that line. They certainly tout that size that should be an advantage for them in the majority of their matchups this season. The likes of Surratt, Burke. You talk about McGill there. We'll see exactly how Gaffney draws it up on this third down. Now, it is not a goal scenario for the Indians. A first down is available at around the 2-yard line. So Gaffney a yard away, a long yard away from a first down, and you can see just how much room they need for a touchdown.
Number 90, power back, he's 6'4", 275.
Plenty of size, to say the least, in this package for Gaffney. And it's going to be McDowell running behind them. And he sneaks right through for a touchdown. Jaden McDowell into the end zone once more. And Gaffney is back out front.
You don't really play I've got a secret in that formation, do you?
It's a matter of who's going to carry the football. In this case, it's Jaden McDowell. And there was plenty of room made by that size package that the Indians put to use.
I'd go in the middle of the field with it.
11:05 remaining in the football game. And it's now Gaffney in this back and forth affair, having placed themselves out front on the scoreboard once more.
I would say if Crest had a kicker, that's how big a point this is, but they don't have a field goal kicker really. So, this
but the 2-point conversion has been fairly effective to this point for the Chargers as you head down the stretch. But this does, as you said, make it a 4-point game, which is always important, particularly if it continues to swing back and forth and you found yourself needing the 3 on the other side.
That's right.
It would be important.
But,
with a lot of football left, who knows?
I would always give award to defense. If after a score, I would have stickers on their helmet to whoever's in the game defense, a 3 and out. Right now it's important the defense gets a 3 and out, and Gaffney could take this ball game over.
Now we're still seeing one of those players in the end zone being worked with as
And, I said something to you also about it could come down with which team is in better shape, and it's looking like Gaffney is.
The sophomore Chris Gunther, that's certainly one of the MOs of Gaffney, not just this edition of the team, but over the years, a team that tries to use that physicality, wear down opponents. You know the speedsters that are there on both sides. Going to be interesting to see what gives tonight. And again, after being tended to by the training staff, Chris Gunther coming off. And the extra point to determine whether it's a 37-34 or a 38-34 ball game. Now ready to be dealt with by Spadavecchia. And he will punch it straight through. The Indians up by 4 at 38-34. With 11:05 left in quarter number 4. We're coming down the home stretch as these two teams continue to trade the lead back and forth in Cleveland County.
Keep an eye on the Ingles Markets Field Goal Challenge. For every field goal scored in this game, Ingles will be donating $100 to the Boys and Girls Clubs of North Carolina. Good luck to all the athletes participating in tonight's game from Ingles Markets, where your savings say something.
All right, we should have one last billboard.
There is no wading into the season with an opener like this. Gaffney and Crest squaring off, and Gaffney leading at 38-34. Indians having just taken the lead from the Chargers a moment ago. Used the size package and the shadow of the goal line and ran Jaden McDowell in behind it to reclaim the advantage, and now set to kick it away to all the playmakers wearing the green and gold on that Crest Chargers side of things. And we are set to get back to action here alongside my broadcast partner, legendary Carolina's head coach, Kenny Ford. Jason Patterson, happy to have you with us on this Friday night to get the new season underway. And a return with room across the 30. Able to get by one tackler at the 40, and finally
would not kick off
at the 49-yard line, it would appear. Boy, the latest of the plays being made this time by Thompson. Take a look at the freshman as he finds room on the return.
No way to be kicking that thing deep right now. Both teams have had problems with that short, high kick to about the 25, 30-yard line, either letting it hit or I'd rather take a risk giving him decent field position. Because like we said, field position hasn't made a rat's tail tonight.
Jay Thompson becoming the latest to add his name to the list of the playmakers in this one. The freshman setting his team up nicely at midfield, starting just on their side of the 50. Long toss in and out of the hands of his intended target. That was going to be Borders, and it was going to be 6 more for Crest had he hung on.
He had it. That was a good. I tell you, I've watched Jim. I've been around him a long time. He'll take those shots, and he'll keep you off balance. And that right after, and that's a good time too. The other just had a big run back, and the other team, is kind of coming in there, having to start right there at midfield, and that was a good timing for that.
Would have reclaimed the lead. Borders and company likely to have that one back. Instead, they continue at the 49-yard line. Second down coming. A lot of football left with just under 11 minutes to play. And here's Husky. Going to work his way into his own bench and into Gaffney territory at about the 48-yard line. So here comes a third down. Different scenario field location-wise, but a critical third down nonetheless.
Yeah, that's like we were just saying, it's huge that Gaffney, after that score, was to get a 3 and out. And I don't even know why they need a play clock down here on this field. I got 2 of them. They don't even need it.
Turn it off tonight.
Yeah, they don't need it.
These players are ready to go. Third down. 40-yard line. That's what Crest is looking for on this play in order to keep the drive going. Husky making sure everybody's on the same page. Play clock still at 15, Kenny, for what it's worth.
That's the most it's been down.
Little sit-down route. A.J. Adams has it, tries to get to the marker, and he's going to make it very close with that second effort.
That was a tough run. It's going to be close, and it's going to be a
looks like he's going to be about a yard shy.
Tough call.
But he made a fourth down decision manageable now.
Yeah.
It's at least worth thinking about after the catch effort from A.J. Adams. And Crest is going to leave the offense on the field.
They ran the option last time down at the goal line with this.
Chargers leave the offense on the field on fourth down in Gaffney territory at the 42. They need a long yard.
Draw them off.
And now timeout is going to be called for by the Chargers after they could not draw the Indians off sides. Fourth down and a long one coming with 9:57 to go in the fourth period.
Well, you said long one.
Was that just to let's see if we can draw them off sides, or do you see the offense come back out here?
That was to see if we draw them off side and let Jim have a chance to see what they lined up defensively. And plus,
so do you believe there's any chance the offense returns to the field here?
Yes, I do. But I also said it's a tough 1 yard, but it's also I think it's going to stay in number one's hand.
Tough 1 yard for number one.
Yeah, I think with games like this, you put it in your best player's hands.
The quarterback Husky, as advertised tonight for this Crest squad, and he does lead this group back out onto the field.
This is a big play.
Green is on the far side. At the top of your screen, just inside him, A.J. Adams, the slot. Addison in the package down at the bottom. He's got 2 backs, one off each hip is Husky. They're going to run it with Carson, and he turns the corner with enough room for the first down and a fourth down conversion. If you don't think all stops are being pulled on a night like this, we saw the fake punt attempted earlier, and here's a 4th and 1 conversion by the Chargers of Crest to keep the drive alive.
See, that's why right there, whenever I faced Coach Sosby, I was worn out after that game, just trying to, chest back, going back and forth, and he would win sometimes, and I'd win sometimes. It was just tough.
For years, he did it with the Red Raiders of Greenville High in South Carolina. For years at Hendersonville High School, a little further up in the mountains. And now in his second year at Crest, he is giving a border rival, even though they've only played 3 times in history. The communication between these fan bases, the expectations known by them both. He has got his team on the move one more time in an effort to reclaim the lead in the fourth quarter of a border battle to be remembered.
It'll be about time for number 6 touch the football.
Well, we've located him from time to time. He's down at the bottom.
That's a long way out here.
Right in the heart of your screen, in the left side, bottom of the package, near side of the field here is Green. Husky rolls this way. And is that picked? It is. Intercepted by King Dowdle, who keeps the feet in bounds to turn over the Chargers for Gaffney. King Dowdle, the senior captain for the Gaffney Indians, comes away with the pick.
And we talked about after all the offense. Oh, it's already.
Well,
there's a penalty. Outside after all the offense, there'd be a big defensive play that make the difference in the game, and now you got a penalty.
Here is King Dowdle's interception, but while Kenny was walking you through that, a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be walked off to the Gaffney 19, and Crest still in business
What was the
as
call?
the Chargers are on the march.
I'm looking over to see. I knew that Gaffney sideline was going to be coming over. What's that?
Set it
Late
up at
hit.
the 19-yard line.
I think it looked like he's calling. Look, we showed it the other side. You see,
they find themselves in the First Bank red zone, and Gaffney's staff still looking for a little explanation on the far side. Well, Kenny, you think about
the helmet.
Yep, helmet to helmet. Think about this. The swings in this period. You think about the punt that was not for Crest. You think about the interception that was just not for Gaffney. And Crest, with the drive continuing here, has it just inside the 20 after a couple of big calls in this football game. And a snap. Here comes a rollout near side. Little toss. And it's into Carson, who is inside the 20 at the 18. Let's go back and take a look at the penalty one more time now that we have a gap to do so, Kenny.
I think it might have been a hit on the quarterback. I'm not sure. Right there.
Well, I mentioned
there
helmet.
It is.
Yep, I mentioned the helmet.
He led with his helmet.
Yep.
That's hard. That's tough on a kid right there. And, trying to work it to the side.
And so, again, the penalty on what looked to be a successful roll of the dice on the punt for Crest, the penalty on what looked to be an interception for Gaffney, and then a touchdown to follow for the Chargers. It's A.J. Adams again as he turns right at the goal line.
Wasn't that tip?
And he turns it into a lead for Crest once more. It looked deflected. I'm with you. But A.J. Adams with a big league hang with him to put Crest back out front.
It's like the linebacker. He did.
Andrew Roop, another of those Gaffney captains, had the 71 tackles, the 17 for a loss a year ago. Able to get his paws on it, but in the end, A.J. Adams, who made the big play.
Now, this kid about hit it
at the close of the half, makes the big play again here, and this time
he got one.
The extra point from Nick Sanchez, the junior kicker, is good, and it'll extend the lead to 3.
Look at this side.
The Crest Chargers with a little magic of their own, and back out front in the 4th.
That was big.
How many? Both.
Tonight's Fan of the Game is sponsored by Western Carolina University. Use your advantage at WCU. A high-quality education has never been more affordable. Thanks to the NC Promise tuition plan, as a North Carolina resident, you'll pay just $500 in tuition per semester for a degree that prepares you for a thriving future. That's Western Carolina University.
Well, we work our way a little deeper into this 4th period. 8 and change remaining now. 41-38 Crest. After a 7-play drive, just over half the field consumed, and a 5th touchdown pass tonight for Husky. And now they're going to say fair catch was called for at the 16-yard line, and that's where Gaffney will take over. 5 touchdown passes tonight for Husky. He put enough juice on that last one, Kenny, that even though it was handled in the middle, it went right through and into the hands of A.J. Adams.
Yeah, that could have been that defensive play we're talking about, it could have made a difference.
And latest of A.J. Adams, the captain's highlight moments tonight for a Crest team.
They make a stop here. You know, he said 3 and out. It'll be big for Crest. They can control the game from there.
Well, Riley Staten's turn now. And he will turn, give off to Jaden McDowell, and met by Zyrion Jamison. There's one of those captains on that defensive line for Crest.
He followed when the tackle pulled. He followed him down in there, and with the quarterback not being a threat to run, that quarterback has got to keep that football to keep him at home. I think the quarterback just kept it one time. He's going to have nothing but green grass and high tides down through there.
When will he opt to do so? Second down, perhaps. Second down and 10 coming for the senior. 6'3", 198. The Gaffney quarterback will signal for a timeout as the Indians go to the far side to talk it over. 7:37 to go. With what we have seen tonight, that could very well be an eternity. You'll find out what happens in the balance of this one on the other side of the break. Staten on second down. He will keep it this time. He's across the 20 to the 22-yard line. As requested, Kenny Ford. This is the moment out of the timeout when Gaffney opts to do that. There is a flag down at the 18-yard line, and it's going to be holding against the Indians. So it'll negate the run, but it at least puts that in the back of Crest's mind.
Yeah, but that was one time you've been waiting on it because you'd set it up, and you saw that defensive end follow that tackle down inside.
That was Jamison who worked through there again.
Okay.
And here's Staten again. All this negated by the holding penalty, and that's going to back Gaffney up inside the 10. So the visitors from across the state line on their own 9-yard line. They need the 26 for a first down now on second down. And Staten looking to go long. And he'll fire a pass near the marker on the far side. It is incomplete. Third and long coming, and we got a player cramping at the 45-yard line for Crest. It looks like that's Devarius Surratt. As you get one more look at the intended target, Drew Medley for Gaffney. And the coverage being provided by Tank Ruff, who's seen action on both sides of the ball tonight for Crest. Again, the player they're working with, Devarius Surratt, a sophomore, 6'3", 180. He's 5'11", 160 in his freshman campaign, so having beefed up a bit, going to be a big part of that secondary for
I've heard that name a lot of times down this way. Playing the Shelbys many times I had to.
Well, I knew you knew the way down here.
I knew the way down here.
Wait,
I never go back. I know I did go back the same way every time.
What a big win a year ago in September for this Crest squad. You talk about that Shelby game and what that rivalry means here in Cleveland County. You know, you look at the rankings in 3A coming into the year. You got Kings Mountain at the top, and then, of course, this Crest team, we've told you, ranked second in the state. Dudley, East Lincoln, Northern Nash, AC Reynolds, South Point, North Brunswick, 71st, and West Charlotte. That's how the top 10 line up. So speaks to what a prime area this is for football.
Yeah, and this thing, the Kings Mountain's right down the road, East Lincoln's right down the road, South Point's right down the road.
Yes, sir. All a part of this Big South area, and the Big South 3A representative looking for a stop on third down as Gaffney's backed up to third and forever. Again, the Indians will need the 26, and another flag comes in ahead of the third down play. And they're saying this is going to be against Gaffney again. So the Indians are going to work a little closer to the goal line. This is a false start against Gaffney.
Well, I wondered about that. You know, if that is, it's a split end that was over here. He's usually on the line of scrimmage. Let's see now, they got a tight end on this side. Reason being, so that's a flanker.
Again, the 26, the line to make on third and forever. Staten receives the snap in his own end zone. And he will connect with Little John on the far side, but he is short of the original line of scrimmage and way short of the first down. So fourth down coming, and there's the defensive stop, at least for now, that the Chargers were hoping for.
After that, you know, scoring there, that extra point is huge too, to where they can't drive down and win the football game on a field goal here later on. So that extra point was huge. And then now they're getting the ball back, and you want to see just how much. I know that Coach Sosby would like to control the ball and keep Gaffney offense on that sideline. But you can't judge that with him. He's probably going to go deep again. He's due. They've after that dropped, and they've barely missed it. They've about hit it 2 or 3 times.
Gaffney talking over any adjustments that would be there. The message being clearly sent as time begins to slip away a bit here. A delay once more for a player a little bit shaken up on the far side. This may be another with, I think that was Little John who caught the football over there. That was a little slow to get up, but he's helped off by the Gaffney training staff, and now the fourth down coming. And protection important right here, Kenny, on this kick for Gaffney, as the punter will stand back in his own end zone.
Crest hadn't been, they haven't been rushing.
You wonder if they'll try, and they won't here. Even with Gaffney backed up in its own end zone, you're right. They'll hold true to what has been form and set up the return instead. We get a whistle before the kick ensues. Yeah, you thought maybe with Gaffney with standing back in their own end zone, would they try to come up with something that could be game-changing here?
You don't really want to rush him right here anyway, because you hit him and you get them the ball back.
Yep.
But they haven't rushed the whole game.
Well, if you're Crest, you're going to get great field position, and they will. This is going to bounce, a Chargers bounce inside the 40, and Crest is going to have it at around the 38-yard line of Gaffney. And you said it. You think about all the things that could go wrong. You're going to get great field position, and in this case, Crest does.
And now you're in 4-down territory. So Jim knows that he's got 4 downs if he runs the football, or that quick hitch pass has been good to him. And I see Green coming off the field now, and that could be a reason he's not been in the game a lot, that he's having some type of cramping issue tonight.
Being helped off by Mitchell.
It looks like it. That's exactly what it is.
He will not be a part of this package. A.J. Adams will. He works his way closest to that line as a part of a trips package, which includes Thompson closest to the Crest sideline. Husky, he's going to come this direction, sealed off by the Indians, but he finds some spot in the middle and is down to the 35-yard line. What a night Nitavius Husky has put together for this Crest Chargers squad, and he's trying to put the finishing touches on it with 6:10 and ticking downward remaining here in the fourth. He's a little bit hobbled, Kenny, but he's earned it tonight.
He's like trying to tackle a deer.
Has been the warrior on the Crest side of things. Yes, the playmakers, as we've talked about often, have abounded, but he has been the common denominator, as they affectionately call him here in Cleveland County. Tater Husky bringing his A game on this night. The 3A preseason player of the year, showing you why. He'll keep it once more on cue and is down to the 34-yard line. A couple more yards ahead of the third down call. And that'll preserve some time as he works his way out of bounds here.
But I know that Jim would like to keep that clock running.
Right.
That's still not enough. That's still He cut that in half. They're bringing pressure right up the gut, right where that back is. That's one reason he's pulling it, because that linebacker's been coming hard right through B gap.
Third down in what Kenny told you is 4-down territory for the Chargers of Crest. Needing the 27 to be sure of the first down. And throws back, connection with Borders. And he is inside the 15-yard line. Move the chain.
That was a late hit.
Franklin
on
Financial first down. And a flag back at the 34 as well. And Kenny just indicated to you exactly what is going to be added to the end of this. And more importantly right now, Husky a little slow to get up. Watch the hit at the end of this. As Andrew Roop comes in there, makes connection with Husky at the end of things. Here was the catch by Tajay Borders. And in a whole other area, Malachi Addison suddenly being helped off, as the training staff is going to have to tend to them. And it's going to be, in many ways, a war of attrition down the stretch.
I'd be out of players by now.
5:26 to go in the fourth. And Crest marching to try and make it a two-possession game right here, right now. Here's another look at the hit at the end of this on Husky. And that's what's going to march Crest right on down inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah, I think maybe if he'd have just, the linebacker just kept going, just got up, and because there was a late flag, and I think the linebacker just didn't stand there and just kind of stare at him down through there. He might not have called that.
First bank red zone opportunity coming for Crest. Husky a little slow to get up, but going nowhere. Awaits the snap at 5:11 to go. Here's Carson again. And he is chased down from behind, and that's Roop making a nice play on the backside of this. Andrew Roop right back at it. The Gaffney captain able to make the stop. Under 5 minutes to play. Husky looking over at that sideline, being patrolled by his second-year head coach, Jim Sosby, who's trying to will Crest to one of the trademark victories, I think you'd have to say, in the early stages of his Crest tenure. You know, he talked about being at Burns over the years and playing here in a scrimmage, in a jamboree, and saying, this is the type of environment in which I would like to coach. He is tonight, and what an environment it's been. His team trying to take command of the game. Husky keeps it to that end. A flag comes in just as Husky goes into the end zone. And that looks like it's in the holding area, Kenny.
I was just fixing to brag on the receivers doing a great job blocking. Stalk blocking, that's one of the things where they're trying to get off these blocks to get to the quarterback or to get to the ball carrier, and they haven't been able to do it. And that was one of the time. Maybe that's why they blocked so well. That's finally got caught holding. But no, I've watched them, and they do a great job.
It'll back Crest up to the 13-yard line, and it's still goal to go on what will be a second down play with 4:18 to go.
At one point, and another thing too, you know, instead of him scoring, it's going to cause more time to be run off that clock.
The clock is much the focal point as anything else right now for both these teams. Another keeper for Husky, and he is driven backwards. They were waiting on Husky this go round, and it is King Dowdle. Remember, it was Dowdle who had what Gaffney thought was the interception earlier in the ball game. It was not to be. He comes up with a huge stop by staying home in the open field here.
Yeah, I think right now they're like the pass play they scored on a little while earlier where he's rolling out. If he can get outside and roll out, these receivers do a good job coming back to the football. And he'll find the open receiver. All he's got to do is break containment.
Gaffney's band, you saw, trying to will their team to a much-needed stop on 3rd and goal from outside the 20. Crest trying to inch closer to potentially putting the game away. Husky loads up. He'll come near side and out of bounds at the 14 after the catch is Addison, and it's going to be 4th and goal from about the 14-yard line.
Well, they're going to the They're going to the power set, or what are they? A full house backfield. It's not really a power set.
Clock is stopped with 3:22 to play. And Jim Sosby has one more play on this drive to call.
They're trying a field goal.
It looks as if he has Nick Sanchez and company out there to try to make it a 6-point game.
Although they're more worried about a fake.
And whistles before the ball can be spotted. Sure looked like Sanchez was getting ready to put a foot into that.
Yeah. That's the first time we had a play clock get down through there.
It is 4th down goal from the 14-yard line with 3:22 to play, and Crest at least giving the indication they were going to try to make it a 6-point ball game here. Keep Gaffney from being in a position of evening you up with a field goal, forcing them to score. Of course, then the all-important extra point that has not been a certainty tonight, regardless of what side you're looking at it from.
Now that is surprising, though, as far as
wondering
for a field
in
goal
their
right
huddle,
now.
are they going to have enough time to march? And we'll see if the field goal unit stays on.
I noticed that Gaffney, they wasn't even lined up to try to. They're more worried about the fake, which I don't blame them.
Well, the Eagles field goal challenge in effect when it matters most in this first game of 2023. This battle from just across the border between Gaffney and Crest leading it by 3. Set to try a 30-yard field goal, and Sanchez punches it through, forcing Gaffney to score the touchdown on the ensuing drive to reclaim things. How about that for all the early kicking woes Crest experienced? It is a 30-yard field goal, and that will force the Indians to find the end zone if they're to battle back in this one. Crest up 6. 3:17 to play, and it's at 44-38, Kenny.
It's like if they hit those other extra points, it would have been huge right now. But they've got to drive the length of the field. Instead of them having to just get in field goal range, they've got to score a touchdown. They've got to stay away from that. The quarterback setting his feet in that deep post across the middle of the field.
You think Jim Sosby is not endearing himself to the faithful here at Crest High? Did you see him turn around, embraced by the masses who have come out to watch him try to open up 1-0 in a battle of historic powers in the Carolinas on this first Friday night of 2023. 3:17 left with which Gaffney can answer. But again, the Indians now, thanks to the strong leg of Sanchez,
the kickoffs
need to score a touchdown in order to get the job done. Everything's been interesting. Nothing at ease on this first night. And here is going to be the return from McDowell, and he's up to the 33. It looks like where Gaffney's going to start. So they will find themselves right at 67 yards away from what the Indians now must have thanks to the field goal for Crest. And here, once more, Kenny, it falls upon the shoulders of the Chargers defense.
If they can get a stop here on first down, that'll change the play calling on Gaffney's sideline. That'll change everything. You know, they might get in a little bit of a panic mode, but that offensive line, if they can give that quarterback time to set those feet, it's not turned out well for Crest.
Going to be handed off inside. McDowell still up into Crest territory at the 41. 3:02 to play. Chains will move on a first Franklin Financial first down for a Gaffney team. Clearly not going away quietly.
And that's why I said that first down play. If they could make a stop on that first down, it would change a lot of things.
Big run by Jaden McDowell for the first Franklin Financial first down.
There
Here
he
is Staten keeping it. He's going to be good for about 7 before being driven out of bounds. Riley Staten using the wheels. And with 2:49 to play, Gaffney inches closer with the ball now spotted on the 33.
Yeah, they only run that quarterback 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's enough to keep you honest. Now they do it. Now they got that power set in there that Crest has not been able to stop.
Snap going to go to McDowell this time. Does a good job gathering it up. McDowell tries to find a hole. He will for a first down, as the clock will stop briefly for them to reset things at the 29-yard line.
I believe I'd go with it one more time.
I'm going to say once more, Kenny, the job that was done by Jaden McDowell to gather in that snap on what could have been disaster for Gaffney, maybe overshadowed by what happens one way or the other when all is said and done, but it was critical.
Staying in it.
McDowell once more. Dancing toward the 26, and he's stacked up right there. Clock ticks at 2:22 to play.
He said that's about it there.
Gaffney using those big bodies, and Jaden McDowell behind him in recent moments will now return Riley Staten, the quarterback, to the package. If you weren't with us early, he transferred from Gray Collegiate in the state capital. Somewhat of a homecoming, as he has family in Cherokee County, South Carolina, and he's his first year at the helm of the Gaffney Indians at the quarterback position, and he's going to lead his team onto the field in a moment, needing a late score to change the narrative here. Time being taken to tend to another of those Crest linemen who is down, and the training staff coming on. And you certainly hope, as has been the case for the most part, that
cramp.
Yeah, that this will be a.
If you've never had a cramp, you feel like you're absolutely going to die. It gets in there. You can't catch your breath or, oh, mercy.
And when the days have been as warm as they've been of late, and you get late into the evening in this first football game of the year, this is what you have. There's that gather up with a football by Jaden McDowell as he worked through traffic to move the chains. That was the play that secured the first down, and this was the first down play. So Gaffney, after these two plays, facing a second down and about 7. Crest is up by 6 with 2:06 to play.
Need to stop right now to make it 3rd and long.
Staten right back into the package after, again, the last 2 snaps were taken by McDowell. He's joined this time by Quay Tate, who is off to his left. They set the screen up far side, and it is read and snuffed out by Crest.
That's huge.
Inside of 2 minutes now with 3rd down coming.
That is huge. Now that changes right there. You know that this play is critical. Otherwise, you're going to a 4th down play.
How about
that was one of the best gang tackles I've seen all night.
Well, and how about the job by Lyric Pettis to blow up that screen? That was the sophomore who got in there to disrupt it. Lyric Pettis, one of the bigger plays of the night defensively for the Crest Chargers. And with 1:51 remaining.
They're not going to get this play off. They're not going to get this play off.
The clock's down to 6. It's down to 3. And Staten trying to snap it. And now looking for a timeout. Did a flag fall? It looks like Gaffney was awarded the timeout just prior to the expiring of the play clock. But Kenny, you were watching it.
That clock ran out.
The decision-making on a key play on which the balance of the game right now holds forced Gaffney to go ahead and burn the timeout.
That clock ran out before he called timeout.
You were looking. I was looking.
Well, nobody's had to look at it all night.
Did the flag come down, or did they grant the timeout? And it turns out the latter was true. All right, reset here. 1:51 to play. 6 points to separation. Gaffney with the football. And Riley Staten in the introduce yourself to the Gaffney faithful game for the new quarterback of the Indians. Set to face a key 3rd down and 8.
This is the stop you want, because then you know what's probably going to come after that. But they've had problems stopping that post pattern right across the middle. It's been open. But they've got 2 safeties, high safeties back there right now.
It set off for Jim Sosby as he looks on. The offensive mind wondering what the opposing offense will do. There is motion, and a flag comes down. This will back Gaffney up a little more. So some movement. Charge to the Indians. And third from behind the sticks now for Gaffney. Into the personnel group.
Well,
comes Tank Ruff for Crest. Here's another look at the movement.
As we've said, field position has not made that much difference on when these teams score.
And here's the third down play. Gaffney needing to get across the 19. Staten dances out of trouble initially, but he's going to be gathered up and dropped at the 37-yard line, and it is fourth down with the game on the line now as the clock dips under a minute and a half to go.
Just as we talked, it's been a crazy offensive game, and we discussed it's probably going to come down to a defensive play that's going to win the football game.
Well, with a packed press box, 3 or 4 broadcast crews in here, all letting you hear their voices rise to the rafters on every single snap from time to time along the way, and a packed house below. As the fans have been entertained throughout the night, it comes down to this fourth down play, Kenny Ford, with 80 seconds left in the football game.
I watched that doubles to each side, and they were trying to run that crossing route again, and the corner took it away from him. He played more. Once he went on the inside, he would not let him cross, and they sent not just 4 down linemen. They sent 2 linebackers to where he couldn't set his feet.
All right, set up the fourth down.
You know, it'd be a good time to take a linebacker and do like a Tampa 2, like the Bears used to do, and bring that linebacker down the middle of the field and take away the middle.
And Gaffney's options here.
Gaffney, I'd go with that. I'd stay with what the big play is doing. Set that feet and that crossing route. That's a good play.
The game on the line. Staten under pressure. Drop for a second consecutive play.
Yep.
And through to get the job done is Finn Allen. Finn Allen, the senior, able to come from behind Staten, provide the sack, and they're starting to fill it on the home side as Crest takes over on downs with 1:14 to play.
How big was that field goal, that extra point down there now? And plus now that was the field position because they had a kicker when they got penalized too. They were very close to field goal range.
Gutsy call to kick the field goal. Sanchez's ability to punch it through, forcing Gaffney to have to go after the touchdown. And Crest now in everybody's favorite formation from a coaching standpoint, right? Kill the clock. The first of the knees is taken, and it was going to come down to defensive performance when it matters most. Tell that to an offensive guy on your screen, Jim Sosby, but his defense did rise to the occasion when they had to.
Came down to defensive stop. As I said, we played him that one night at 58-56, and it was about in the same spot. And we made a couple big play on third down and big play on fourth down to win the football game.
These teams met in the 90s. Gaffney won both meetings. 47-20, 35-0. It wasn't lost on these fan bases. The third edition appears as if it's going to go the direction of the Crest Chargers, serving notice not just to North Carolina, but serving notice in both Carolinas that this group of playmakers from Cleveland County, a force to be reckoned with in 2023.
Where are they going? Where are they going?
Well, they are going to go join that Crest logo below the scoreboard, and in doing so, savor the final seconds of the trademark win in the Jim Sosby era. As the final seconds roll off the game clock, and they're already in picture mode at the scoreboard, which reads Crest 44, Gaffney 38, the final here at Litton Field.
I ain't seen nothing like that in all my born put-togethers.
Well, let's put it in perspective. The win for Jim Sosby, what it means to his era here at Crest, what a foundational moment it is for a team that expects to be playing when the turkey's on the table and the Christmas trees are trimmed in the state of North Carolina. I mean, he expects to be around at tree trimming time. He expects to be around deep into the playoffs, and he showed you with this group of playmakers tonight why that's the case. He called you about this game because he believed in these young men, and tonight we find out why.
He wanted us here. Kenny, I've got you a heck of a game, as y'all opened up with. That's how he opened up the conversation when he called. And I'm glad the powers that be over there decided let's do it. You get both viewing areas in North and South Carolina. No, it wasn't up toward, the western part of the state where we have a lot of the games and stuff, but it really covered North to South Carolina and a lot of room in both states.
Number 2 team in the state on both sides battling it out, whether you're talking about North Carolina or South Carolina coming into the year. They may very well finish higher than that. Both these teams, who knows? But tonight, it belongs to the Crest Chargers. They welcome in a Gaffney Indians team from 16 miles across the state line. They come away with a 44-38 victory. We'll be back to wrap it on the other side of the break. Crest a winner on this night against Gaffney. Well, they took punch after punch, both these teams, in a back-and-forth affair. You knew there would be room for one left standing when the night was done. It is the Crest Chargers, 44-38 victors over the Gaffney Indians. What a way for Jim Sosby to start his second season at the helm of this program. He said this was the type of place he always wanted to coach. This was the type of environment he always wanted to be in. The environment created tonight by the opponent he chose, by the team he trained, and by the execution they provided, second to none to start the year. It's Crest 44, Gaffney 38. And what a night this has been to kick off the new football season. And when you think about what it may mean to the future of Coach Sosby's program, Kenny, it's going to be one you circle for so many reasons.
Yes, and he knew exactly that type of atmosphere he was going to bring. He'd been in these battles more than once. And to open the season with it, you kind of wish you could go down later in the season and have this, but to start your season, and that's a make or break type of game to propel them.
Well, and you need this early because you remember you play the rival Shelby on September 1st. That's pretty quick after Burns, and then on down the line it goes into Big South 3A. This is a team knew they would be battle tested either way tonight. Weren't sure they'd have a win under their belt, but now they know that. The result going Jim Sosby and Crest's way, and he is standing by with Nelson for the Bojangles Trophy presentation.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Well, Coach, first thing is first, congratulations on a spectacular win. I got to tell you, this is truly the epitome of must-see TV. How you feeling right now?
Man, that's awesome. I give credit to these guys right here. Yes, sir, baby! Hey, I don't know how many people were here, but they should pay on the way in and also pay on the way out. That's all a great game right there.
I like the energy. Now, Coach, when we talked to have, you told me, quote, we have a great quarterback, end quote, and I couldn't agree with you more. But based on what we just saw in the final 2 minutes, you have a terrific all-star defense. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir. It's a tribute to the character. They would not give up. We told them we're going to play 48 minutes. That's exactly how we had to win it, all 48 minutes.
All right, Coach. Now, this is a great season opener. What's going to be the strategy for Game 2 going into next week?
Well, I just told them they gave us no rings right there. We got no medallions, so this is the start of the journey. We got a long way to go.
All right, Coach. Well, congratulations belongs to you. Congratulations, team! Tom, Jason, back to y'all.
He said 50 cents and expectations will buy you a newspaper. He's going to be the headliner in that newspaper tomorrow, his Crest Chargers. Not only that, the expectations, they just ratcheted up a notch, Kenny. This is a team proving what they can do. You think about the multiple touchdown passes for Husky tonight. You think about the playmakers, Carson on the ground, Green, who committed to North Carolina earlier today, along with Adams and Addison through the air. Crest showed you why they can be a complete team this year and a danger up and down the schedule.
As long as they can stay healthy, you can see the difference. Green wasn't able to play toward the end of the game when they really needed him. So big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games, and they just kept it in their best athlete's hand, number one.
The Crest Chargers welcome the Gaffney Indians 16 miles across the state line for a battle of top-tier teams, not only in the states this year, but in the history of North and South Carolina. This round goes to Crest. We remind you, we'll join you from Hendersonville next week. This is just the start of an incredible season, no doubt, of Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. The bar set very high tonight by the job done here at Crest as the Chargers win it 44-38. For Kenny Ford, my broadcast partner, Nelson down on the field, everybody working hard for you in the truck on this crew. Jason Patterson saying thanks for joining us from Cleveland County. A night to remember and a trademark win to begin year 2 for Jim Sosby and his Crest Chargers. 3rd edition all time between Crest and Gaffney. Going to Crest in a memorable opener for 2023.
There was never plan B, just a path I'm taking. Breaking on through on the road I'm making. I knew one day I'd get my shot. So here I am to give it all I got. This is the big time, ready to say